Hello everyone, you know what time it is. We're here once again, we're back for the Creator Series, and this is round number 4 of season number 2 of the F2 Creator Series. And I, for one, am very excited because, as we are in real life, we're at Shanghai, and this is the first repeat race that we've had, so we can see how much some of our drivers have improved or how much they have regressed. And I'm delighted to say the driver that picked up a couple of podiums in that first race, Hayden Gullis, is alongside me once again. Hayden, how are you and how much are you looking forward to this race?
I'm really good, and yeah, thoroughly looking forward to it. I think it's going to be another classic. China last season, when we did it, had some great racing, a lot of drives through the field. I was one of them, starting at the back alongside Rob. We had some great battles coming through the field. So it's always good to see what those guys, like Dale, for example, are going to be doing there. But also, you know, later on when we get into the feature and it's a bit more sweaty and everyone's in the right positions, there's great battling throughout the track, and hopefully we get to see more of that. Yeah,
it's going to be really interesting to see how some of these drivers cope, because if we take the sprint race results from last season, the top 4 are gone. The 3 of them got promoted that we saw, Matty, yourself and Rob, and we don't have Badgeman with us. And in the feature race as well, 4 of the top 5 aren't here. So this is a great opportunity for someone to take a nice little victory in China. And we also have a big name missing. It's one of the Campos drivers. It is F1 Alex. And that is going to be music to the ears of Mr. Dale, our championship leader, who already holds a 15-point advantage. And it's very likely he's going to be extending that one.
Yeah, certainly. 15 points is a good advantage to have, but missing out that one race, especially as Dale has been so consistent so far over the season, that missing out on that one race can be a massive change in the championship, of course. But we saw it last season where both me and Rob, we both missed out on a race, and you know, we both had one race as well that season where we did mess up. So could that race here at China be the first one that we see Dale make a few little mistakes? He's going to have to come from the back of the field, right at the back, although he does have a new entry for today's race of Bamford alongside him as a reserve, being at the back of the grid. So it'll be interesting to see what they do coming through the field and whether they can keep it clean and not getting into any trouble.
Yeah, and this one's going to be really interesting because we do also have a nice little scrap going on for the playoffs. We've got F1 Scott in 3rd, who's looking fairly comfortable, but a bit of a stinker in the next few races because we only have 4 races left, remember. This is a curtailed 7-race season. So F1 Scott on 47 points. 10 clear of 5th place Duncan, 14 clear of B-Roy in 6th, with Sprite, who is supposed to be a reserve but has been absolutely rapid since coming in. Sat in 4th on 38. B-Roy sat there on 33, and then Damien and Dragonflies on 29, G-Watts on 26, Adam Sanson 23, Dirt Chocolate 24, Dark Viper 23. A lot of drivers in contention for getting into those playoffs.
Yeah, certainly. I've been really impressed with Spro. Of course, he's a reserve, but he has taken part in every race so far, apart from the sprint in Brazil, which he missed out due to internet issues. So it's been interesting to see his journey across the season and whether he could be a reserve driver that is able to get themselves into the playoffs by the end of the season. But a great battle going on. Those guys so close together. And it's kind of, you know, we've got 2 little battles going on. We've got Dale and Alex right at the front. Then we've got F1 Scott, who's a little bit in no man's land at the moment. And then you have the rest of those drivers really pushing for that spot to potentially be in F1 for Season 7 on F1 24.
Absolutely. And we've also got some drivers that are a little bit out of position, but it will help them today, of course, because they'll be starting further forward. Punju, the notable driver who is down in 18th in the championship, only on 11 points. If you remember, in the playoffs last season, finished 4th in the championship, has not got off to a good start, had a disappointing playoffs. It wasn't really down to his own doing, but has carried that bad luck into the season. Hoodie Pete as well finished 6th, just outside the playoffs. He's only 14th on 18 points, needs to find 19 points over the drivers in front of him to get into that top 5.
Yeah, certainly Punju, no fault of his own. The fault might have been sat right here, so apologies to Punju for that little mistake that we had in Baku. But yeah, it's interesting to note that he was looking good in the playoffs, like had some good performance there. But so far this season in F2, it's not gone his way. You know, 4 points picked up in Brazil in the main race, missed out in Japan, wasn't there for that race, but then only 2 points picked up in the feature race in the fan vote. And then the sprints haven't been that great for him either. He's starting more or less nearer the front of the grid. 3 points in Brazil and 2 points in the fan vote race last time out as well. So yeah, it's not gone to plan so far for Punju, but you know, we've still got over half the season left to go, things change drastically in F2. It's so easy to pick up a little bit of front wing damage, especially in that close midfield pack that we saw it last season. An example is Adam Sanderson. Some races, he was fantastic, would finish P4, score loads of points in the feature. Other races, right in the mud, outside the points, and loses it all. So it can change so quickly in F2. Punju just needs to do what he did last season, stay consistent, and he will certainly be fighting for the playoffs if he can do that.
And Adam Sanderson's actually a very interesting case at the moment. 14 points outside the playoffs, but has actually scored in 5 of the 6 events so far, just failing with a P14 in the sprint at the fan vote last week. So consistency key for him. He just needs to get those headline results to get himself towards the likes of Duncan and B-Roy to really challenge. And we've seen it before. Certainly got the capabilities of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his results, and you can look at those and think, yeah, okay, he's been kind of consistent through the races, but it hasn't been without issues. He's certainly had a few moments here or there where he's knocked the front wing, but I think the pace has been better this season, so that when he's had those issues, he's been able to recover from them, unlike last season. So Adam just needs to make sure he keeps that front wing clean, certainly, going forward into the rest of the races. If he can do that, I definitely think that he's got the pace to be fighting for those top fours, maybe even a podium as well, because we've seen B-Roy as an example there that's been fighting for the podiums too. Sprout, Duncan was on the podium in Japan. So those drivers, I'd say, is the same sort of ability around those guys, and I reckon he can fight for them for sure.
Definitely. B-Roy had a flying start, got out the blocks really quickly this season, picked up 32 points over his first 3 races, picked up just 1 in the fan vote last week though, so that form could be a little bit of an issue, especially starting towards the back in that ART car.
Yeah, B-Roy, very, very strong start of the season. Then unfortunately, not the greatest, of course, in the fan vote. A few incidents got caught up in Silverstone, but now it's just time to put that to the back of your mind. Now focus on this race. See what he can do. He knows he's got the pace there to be fighting at the front, and he's just got to make sure he keeps it clean. He's going to be starting P14. Let's run you through the grid for today's sprint race. We've got only Vic, who is back. She is going to be starting and lining up on the front row with Luke Horwick, who has not taken part so far this season as well, lining in second. Zach RC is in third, with Jess Games in fourth. Punju, playoff contender last season, and even a championship contender for the first part of the season, down in P5, so not a good start to the season, but he'll be looking to get through those drivers as quickly as possible, work his way through the grid. Upanda's then 6th, then Patterson, then Hoodie Pete. We've got King Henny there representing the Track Limits team that's made up of Swish and Mikey, those 3 switching seats there, so Henny now in the seat will be starting P9. Then it's Dark Viper, Adam Sanderson, G-Watts, Damien, B-Roy, Duncan, Sprout, F1 Scott, Dale, our championship leader at the back, and Bamford as a brand new reserve will be lining up in P19.
Going to be really interesting. I think we should talk a little bit about F1 Scott as well. 3rd in the championship with a really good afternoon's work. Could get up into 2nd, 24 points behind F1 Alex. So it is obviously possible. But it's kind of been all or nothing for F1 Scott, really, because if you look at his results, taking part in 5 events, 3 of them are second places, 2 of those feature races. So that's 47 points. The other 2, a DNF in the feature race in Japan. Japan was a bit of a stinker, it has to be said. And then he also got P12 in the sprint in the fan vote, where just got caught up in a load of traffic. So we spoke about consistency earlier. I think F1 Scott is someone who got really, really strong pace. Just got to try and get through these cars in the sprint a little bit better, because if you remember back to Brazil, the reason why he was able to get second, same with Dale to an extent as well, started on the front row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. I think for F1 Scott, your sights has got to be set, first of all, on F1 Alex. Alex not here today, so it's a great opportunity to leapfrog him. There is, a big difference in points between those two, a total of just over 15 points, about 20 points between those two. So definitely the chance to jump at that and get himself up at the front. Challenging Dale at this moment in terms of championship, unlikely. But if Dale has a bit of a shocker and he has a great race and is consistent across both races, then he can certainly look to being at the front of the grid for sure, and in that fight for the championship. It's not over yet. Still 4 races left to go.
Mr. Dale Masterclass incoming is what people are saying in the chat. We'll have to wait and see. Starting from 18th on the grid. Won the sprint last week coming from the back of the grid, so certainly got the pedigree to do so. But had a bit of a harder time in Japan, just the 1 point for him there. So we'll have to wait and see what Dale can do. But only Vic lining up on pole position. Great opportunity for the Dams driver as everyone coming around the final corner. We've got a bit of a bottleneck caused between the 2 Premers. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Trying to maybe cool down the tyres of the drivers sat at the front of the grid. But as everybody does line up, Hayden, do you want to take us through this race start for round number 4?
Here we go then. The sprint race for the Chinese Grand Prix. We've been here once before for the first season of Formula 2 as the cars are lining up Mr. Dale will be one of the last to line up on the grid right at the back. It's only Vic who would be starting from pole position. Hoodie Pete gets disqualified, doesn't quite line up in the grid box, but they're going to be getting ready now. We've got only Vic from the front. Luke Horwick in second place. The lights coming on, the engines are revving, and we go. We're going to go racing. There we go. Now we go racing for the F2 race. And it is a great start there for Luke Horwick, who tucks up right behind only Vic. We'll have a look down the inside through turn one. Vic holds it nicely right around the outside, though. Can she remain in the lead? There's a big collision right at the back. Who is that involving? It's right at the back there. It looks like Duncan, unfortunately, dropping down. Adam Sanderson, we were talking about him needing to remain consistent. Unfortunately, front wing damage for Adam, but it is only Vic who still leads the way through the first couple of corners. We got another yellow flag further back through the field. That time it looks like Hoodie Pete, who has unfortunately gone backwards, but only Vic still leading the race. But Horwick having a look up the inside. Can he get the job done? No, he cannot. And it's a great start from Vic there.
Certainly, and great start for Mr. Dale up in 7th place already. Adam Sanderson and Hoodie Pete getting caught up in turns 1 and 3 respectively. People struggling to get the car stopped, in fact, for turn number 6. We saw a few mistakes there. In the playoffs, the two Campos drivers are now going to battle. I think Dale is going to hold off against his teammate Dark Viper, trying to get ahead of, I think that's you Pandas, going a little bit wobbly at the apex, but it is only Vic still leading at the moment. A couple of cars going wide through the very tricky turn 10, and Dale still on the move again, looking for any opportunity to try and get past you Pandas. This battle's going to continue down. Got a big bottleneck in front. That's Patterson and Zach RC squabbling over 4th and 5th. Yellow flag further back. Another incident. I think it's another Trident potentially, or it might be F1 Damien. Yes, it is.
F1 Damien, yeah. F1 Damien looks like he's had an incident and is falling through the order. But Mr. Dale, fantastic start. And it's going to go wheel to wheel now with Patterson as they head down the back straight. And it looks like he's going to get the maneuver done. Mr. Dale, I've been speaking to him. He loves the low wings in F2 cars. He loves to stick the wings as low as possible and really try and fight it through the corners. And it's helping him massively down this straight. Only Vic, though, fantastic first lap from hers. Mr. Dale gets a great exit. 1 lap. And he's already onto the podium. Jess on the inside decides to back out of that one. Holds P4s. We've got another yellow flag. This time further back. It's Duncan once again, who is not having a great race after his podium in Japan. He's not going to be replicating that here in this sprint race, as Mr. Dale is P3 at the moment, and he's going to be hunting down these two front runners.
This has been an incredible start. Ain't no stopping Dale now. He's on the move, and he's certainly got the grooves. He's got a podium place after just 1 lap here in the sprint, starting from 18th. Batting going on further back. That is Dark Viper GT against Jess Gamer, who's struggling to hold on to positions. Sprite comes through as well, and she's starting to tumble a little bit like a stone and could be falling out of the top 10 just in a few corners time. You can see it there, still battling away further back. 2 Red Bull liveries cars. Bit of a fishtail going into the apex as Dale's up into 2nd place further forward. Jess Gamer now down into 10th with Punju, who's not had a great start either outside of the top 10, on the prowl behind them.
Yeah, it was a big lunge from Dale up into the hairpin. Lost the rear end, kind of locked it round. Horwick went for a switchback, and he's going for the move for the lead, but he just gets held up on the outside. Vic defending perfectly, still in the lead of this F2 race, and Dale holding 2nd place for the time being, but we'll certainly have a look up the inside into the left-hander. He's hard on the brakes. The back end steps out ever so slightly. Only Vic decides to back out of that. And it's 2 laps. Is this reminiscent of Formula 1? Max Verstappen, when he takes the lead of the race, do we just switch off now? Mr. Dale is going to drive off into the distance, but don't switch off because, of course, we're going to have amazing battles throughout the field. Vic is still holding on to 2nd place, but there are a lot of fast drivers coming back through the field. How long can Vic hold on to this? Can she get herself onto a podium in this race? Well, she's doing a great job at the moment. Horwick having a little look. He's trying to brake late into the hairpin. Can't quite brake late enough.
It's Zach RC who's on the move into the hairpin. Tried to nab 4th place from Patterson, but now coming under pressure on the exit from Dark Viper. This isn't usually an overtaking position, but actually Zach RC in the Invicta car backs out of it and drops down into 6th place. Spirit is now going to be licking their lips to try and gain a position with the slightly compromised Invicta car. Battle into turn number 1. Is this only Vic dropping down into 3rd place? Yes, she does. It'll be Patterson next in the Prema, who is going to be on the move to try and relegate the Downs car. Though. Maybe going to try the switchback, but I think the Van Amersfoort car of Luke Howick is going to hold on to that, and does, cutting just in front of the Downs. So it is Dale. Nearly 2 seconds clear now, though, as Jess Gamer continues to fall through the field down into 13th. Battling continuing. Zach RC really getting stuck in, just holds on to 6th place ahead of Spirit, with you Panda sat just underneath the rear wing of that second Dams car.
Vic tucked right up behind Luke Horwick as Patterson has a look around the outside, as I think there was contact further back, right? Sprite Dark Viper had a little nudge into Patterson there, as Sprout is right on the back of these guys. Vic still holding on behind Luke Horwick at the moment, but Patterson is on the attack. He's right behind us. There's a big scrap going on now for what could be second place and third place on the podium in this race. Punju is moving himself up as well into the top 10 now. F1 Scott, been a bit of a slow race for him as well. Started at the back, of course, only up into P12 for the time being, and sadly for Jess, one of the first drivers at that front runners, has just been swallowed up and spat out, and unfortunately now down in 13th as Vic goes a bit deep into the left-hander. Patterson has a look, but will have the inside line, and now it's a switchback from Dark Viper, who's having a look on the inside. These three squabbling onto the back straight. It's all going to be who has the best straight line speed. As Sprout loses the back end, gets all out of shape. He's going to be out of this fight, but how good is Vic's wings going down into the hairpin now? It looks like Dark Viper has some amazing straight line speed. It's 3 wide as they head into the hairpin. Vic backs out of it as Sprout gets overtaken Sprout overtakes Zach RC there as well, and Vic unfortunately dropping off the podium and now into P5. But can she hold on to points?
Potentially, we'll have to wait and see. This battle's going to continue into the final corner. Patterson versus Dark Viper. All 4 tyres were locked up into the hairpin for the Campos driver, and they're still going to battle down the main straight. Dale is flying out in front. 2.7 seconds the advantage now. And here we go. Battle down into turn 1. Continuing between Patterson and Dark Viper. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? They're going to force each other wide, you would imagine, but I think it's the Campos that comes out on top. Patterson runs into the back of Dark Viper, in fact, and could be under pressure from Spirit, who's managed to nip ahead of teammate only Vic, with Upanda sat just behind the dams as well. Punji gets past G-Watts in the battle for 10th and 11th place as well.
Yeah, Punju back up into the top 10. G-Watts had a little look on the inside into turn 1, 2, but Punju was able to get the inside line into turn 3 and turn 4 and was able to regain that position. They're getting also close there, out of shape. I think it was only Vic up ahead. There's too many Red Bull cars on the grid to make sense of who is who, but it is Vic in 7th. It was Pandas getting out of shape, going for the overtake onto only Vic, as B-Roy and Zach RC go wheel to wheel. And Zach RC also another driver that's just kind of dropping through the field at the moment. Punju now on the inside through the right-handers. Got Vic, his teammate from last season, switches it back, goes onto the inside. What a move there from Punju to move himself up into P8, and that is the Punju we want to see. He's had a bad start to the season so far, but now he's making moves. He's into the points, but Zach RC now having a look on G-Watts. They go wheel to wheel,
contact.
And they've got contact. Yeah, slight little tap there between those two. Vic holding P9 at the moment. I think it was G-Watts around the outside, had a little bit of contact dropping through the field. Adam Sanderson, no, that's Bamford looking to make his move up through the field as well. He's fighting with Jess Games further down. But yeah, big battles going on as we've got, looks like Zach RC putting pressure on F1 Scott now, who's starting to climb up through the field and starting to get into the positions that we see him in, as Zach RC, way too late on the brakes there, is going to lose out that fight to F1 Scott and also position to Bamford.
Both the Invicta cars in trouble. G-Watts has got half a front wing, made contact with his teammate, and I think it was only Vic that got involved there as well. Zach RC's just been going backwards, as is Jess Gamer, and I think G-Watts is into the pits. Sprite battling with Patterson, who's struggling to hold on to place as well. Upanda's managed to nip past both of them, I think. Here comes the Prema trying to retaliate out the inside of turn 1 and 2 in the snail section. Now it's going to be Sprite versus Patterson. Little bit of argy-bargy going on. Can Upanda's try and nip in there and try and steal 1 or 2 of these places back? I think as the camera is not particularly conducive to seeing what's going on. Patterson has a big wobble on the exit though, as does B-Roy. I think that is behind, and it is Sprite that comes out on top. Upans is going to try and get back into 5th. There's the dive, but it doesn't work. Is Sprite going to get caught up? I think he rolls off the circuit. Big slide for Punju behind as well. That was the dummy attempt from Patterson, and it certainly didn't work, but it was Upandas that very much came out worse, and we have a safety car for our troubles as well on lap number 5.
Yeah, Zach RC retiring in the pit lane, I think also triggering the safety car as Bamford gets the drive-through penalty for speeding onto the safety car as well. I think because there was a yellow flag at the start-finish straight and then a yellow flag that was caused down the hairpin, the safety car has been deployed. This is not going to be what Dale wanted. Of course, he has got the pace to regain the lead of this race and hold the lead of the race, but it's going to bunch everybody up, and it's going to make this race win a little bit more difficult. It's not as safe as it looked one lap ago. Luke Horwick might not be good for him because the pace compared to the likes of Sprout, B-Roy, it's not quite up there compared to those guys, but Luke will be looking to try and hold on to this podium for sure. Sprout now up in a P4 will be looking to try and, plant an attack on those front runners, get himself up in a P2 and really try and fight for the playoffs as a reserve driver as well. Only Vic was having a fantastic race, holding on to these positions very well. And unfortunately, with his safety car, it's going to bunch everybody up. But it's going to be a lifeline for the likes of Adam Sanderson, F1 Damien, and G-Watts, who had that damage early on. They're going to come back through the field and maybe try and fight with 5 laps to go. Just because there's not much time in these races does not mean you can make loads of overtakes. Bahrain, for me, for example, I had 2 laps left to go. Looked like I was out of a fight for the race win after having contact and a collision with my rival of Rob. But 2 laps to go, was still able to fight for the win and took it. So doesn't mean that it's over, as only Vic decides to stay out. There are a lot of drivers coming into the pit lane, and from my experience, I think the ones that are coming into the pit lane are making the wrong decision. Track position is key around these F2 races because it's so close in the mid-pack, and it's a little bit dangerous. The driving standards are not the best. It's not like what you see in F1, even though in F1 it's not the best at the best of times. But the collisions are so more likely down in that mid-pack that if you get yourself stuck in there, it's so easy to be caught up with somebody else. And someone who is going to be in there is Mr. Dale. Has he thrown this race win away? He's going to have the pace. He's going to have the tyres to go on that attack, as he's looks like he's box 2. I believe it's surely going to be soft tyres on the car, and yes, it is. So he's going to be on the attack, but it's so easy to break a bit of front wing, and I think track position is going to be important. This could be really great for someone like Only Vic, and certainly as well Sproat, who is leading the way.
Yeah, Sproat just a few moments ago was extremely lucky not to end up facing the wrong way, getting caught up in the incident between Passon and you Pandas, both of whom also stayed out on those old medium tyres. Dale is the lead pit stop runner. B-Roy, interestingly, has gone for the mediums. Everybody else that's come in has gone for those red striped soft tyres. Dale, if he was bored out in front, this is certainly going to spice up his race a little bit, as he's got 6 cars to overtake to try and resume the lead of the race. But Sproat, this is a really good opportunity. It's been gift wrapped to them. They've just got to open it and take this race victory, as we have only just gone past half distance, we have to remember as well.
Yeah, if he wants content, he's certainly going to have it now, because he's got to make 6 positions up. A lot of battling in the last few laps once again to try and make him put himself as the race winner in the sprint. He did back-to-back last time. Only 3 drivers have done that. Myself, Unstopped Rob, and Mr. Dale, who did it last time out at Silverstone in the Fan Vote GP. Can he be the first driver to get 2 clean sweeps in F2? Time will tell. He's down in P7 at the moment, so he's going to have to make overtakes in order to do that. Sproat's looking good. Patterson's got that penalty, so this safety car's not going to help him. But of course, boxing for himself and Bamford as well, who unfortunately has that drive-through penalty, so will have to come into the pits after this safety car. For Patterson, he's going to have to, sort himself out later on in this race. So boxing would be a bad decision for him, as it looks like coming into the box is Bamford. They're deciding to go for, I guess, a new set of soft tyres in this race, and also coming to the pits looks like King Henny as well. So both those drivers coming into the pit lane now, going a little bit too late. They're going to drop to the back. Sadly for Bamford, he's not going to serve his penalty, and there's another one for King Henny. He's also got a 5-second time penalty. But going back to Patterson, he needs to drive away in this situation, try and hope that there's a bit of chaos behind, and give him a 5-second gap over those guys who are outside the points, and try and remain in a points-paying position in this race.
I don't want to be negative though, but I think he's only got 2 drivers as buffers, Only Vic and New Pandas, and then you've got the quick guys on the brand new softs. Patterson, I think staying out was the correct decision because of that penalty, but it's going to be so hard to try and maintain track position. When you're battling, trying to hold on to places, you're going to be costing yourself time anyway. So this is really, really going to be difficult for Patterson. I can't see that Prema getting points, I have to say. It'd be a miracle if they do. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It is currently Dams 1 and 3 though. Only Vic has lucked out a little bit. She was getting mugged a little bit a few laps ago, dropping outside of the top 8. This is an opportunity to get some points though, and I think everybody would like to see that. The same with you Panda's been given a lifeline after getting taken out by Patterson just before the safety car came out. Currently 4th, but is going to be the first driver that will have to deal with the drivers on the brand new soft tyres, and that could be quite the challenge I think we are expecting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these last few laps play out. The soft tyres are pretty much a cheat code in the F2 cars. They are unreal. So they're definitely going to be catching up to those guys. It all depends on what happens with Only Vic, Pandas and Patterson, really, for Sproat. He's going to be relying on those guys to basically go 3 wide around this whole circuit, try and block Dale, or cause a few incidents that involves those other drivers on the softs getting caught up in it. I think B-Roy is going to have a difficult situation. The softs will certainly last till the end of this race, and I think they are the right call. So B-Roy, unfortunately, is just going to get mugged in this race as well. This is a great opportunity for Punju, the 3rd driver currently on the soft tyres. Great opportunity to try and come back in this race and score some really high points to get his championship started.
Still no safety car in this lap message. We know it can be brought in extremely late, but I think Adam Sanderson and King Henny are just a little bit too far back. So we are going to have one more lap of safety car running. I'm not sure who that benefits. Gives the guys further down the order on the softs less time to work their way through, but at the same time, you'd expect them to get through pretty quickly anyway. It'll just be a bit of a cluster, I think, into certain corners. This hairpin at the start of the restart, turn number 14, could be absolute carnage. We could have about four wide going into that as people try to jostle for position. Sproat's just got to try and bolt, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think people are going to get maybe a little bit desperate at this stage. But, you know, the old saying, safety cars breed safety cars. And those guys on the softs going aggressive with drivers on old mediums could certainly bring out more safety cars. And that's really what Sproat's going to be wanting. He's going to want straight away another safety car to be brought out and hope that it doesn't involve Pandas, Only Vic and Patterson, so they all remain in the top 4. If that happens, then they have a great opportunity because there will only likely be 2 laps left of this race for Sproat to try and hold on to this race victory. Only time will tell. We've still got, definitely one more lap of safety cars. Adam Sanderson and King Henny start to close in, and they have arrived at the back of the train. So safety car will most likely be in on this lap, and we'll get racing and see what is ahead of us, whether we await some more chaos in this race.
Excellent news. Just a quick word on Dark Viper as well. Was second on the road before the safety car came out, but obviously had to queue behind teammate Dale. And that's pretty costly. Lost 4 positions, I believe that is. F1 Scott has benefited really nicely. Just sat outside the points. You'd expect him to pick up a couple of places in the remaining 4 laps. So Scott could be looking at a decent handful of points. And that is the beautiful message that we were looking for. Race control, safety car in this lap. And Spray, Patterson, Onivik and New Pandas, they've got a big, big job on their hands for the remainder of this sprint race. Stay tuned, folks. This could be carnage.
It'll be interesting to see what Patterson does, Sproat does with this safety car restart. Whether they wait for as late as possible to really bunch up and give a higher percentage really of carnage on this safety car restart, or do they bolt as early as possible to try and, get away from Dale as quickly as they can. He'll be hoping on Patterson, Vic, Pandas to, be focusing on something else. Get caught napping to build that gap as much as possible and see what they can do in this race. As Patterson weaving from left to right. You don't really want to weave in these F2 cars. It is difficult to build up the tyre temperature, but you really want to just hold the brake and the throttle at the same time is the best way to do that. As Sproat is going to lead us away for this safety car restart.
Pressure on the Dams driver, got to get it right, and has bolted a little bit early just on the run up to the final corner, and we are underway as we go around turn number 16 to start lap number 9. A little bit wide there for Only Vic, could be under pressure. Dale already on the move still, getting past Pandas on the exit of the final corner. Luke Howick trying to get involved as well, is actually going to put Dale under pressure. Defensive shake thrown by the championship leader, who's going to get 5th place on the run up into turn number 1 and 2. Through the Snell section we go, still Spro ahead. That was very interesting. Pandas and Only Vic getting caught up with each other. They're not quite sure what's going on there. Looked like I'm not going to say it was a brake test, but it did look a little bit like that. Squabbling going on behind. B-Roy trying to capitalise and get past the Van Amersfoort of Luke Howick, and has done that very, very nicely. Punju next on the list. But as we cut to the Trident, Punju is facing sideways. I am so sorry, my friend. I feel like that might have been a little bit my fault. Dale still on the move up into 3rd place ahead of Only Vic. Big squabbling going on. Pandas and Only Vic can't get enough of each other at the moment as B-Roy trying to nip at the heels of those 2 drivers as well.
Yeah, B-Roy losing the back end massively, getting down on the power, trying to get now past Only Vic and move themselves up in a P4 and then go on the hunt and following Dale on the hunt of Patterson and Sproat. Patterson holding up Dale nicely, but then just sort of gets out of the way. These drivers don't want to fight, and, it could be smart to do so. Patterson doesn't want to fight because he doesn't want to lose that train. He wants to be as far as possible. As falling through the order, is that Dark Vipers? Yes, it is. Dark Vipers is round. Also, is Only Vic and F1 Scott. Is it F1 Scott? No, it's Punju as well, I believe. Punju sadly out. Yellow flags are out. No safety car is out. Luke Howick, who's in a podium position right down at the back of this field, is changed drastically. F1 Scott is now in a position to fight for some solid points in this race as Dale was on the hunt for Spro. It was interesting to note on that safety car restart, the Hoodie Pete was massively off the rest of the train. 2-second gap between them, which they are holding at the moment between the front runners and Hoodie Pete as F1 Scott makes his way through. Pandas up the inside into the braking zone. Pandas sadly with less grip going into the braking zone, unable to fight that. But here comes Dale going down into the first corner. What can Sproat do? Will he fight it or will he settle for 2nd place in this race? Dale, though, having to go the long way, having to go around the outside through the first corner. Sproat will be on the inside. Will he back out of it? They go wheel to wheel through the first corner. Sproat fighting it right until turn 2 now. Still on the inside, shows Dale the door. Is going to close it, but Dale's going to have the inside line. Drives into the side pod there of Sprout. Kind of a punt to pass move, so Sprout's not going to be giving that up so easily. Dale loses the back end slightly, and that's going to allow this battle to continue right down into the hairpin. Dale, though, on the traction, gets the job done. Will Sprout come back? No, he does not. And Dale then, business as usual, back up at the front.
He usually resides in first place and does return once again to a more familiar position for the Campos driver. Big wobble on the exit for Sprout, though, maybe struggling with those medium tyres. They are 9 laps old at this stage, so not particularly surprising. Battle for 4th place, F1 Scott, who I mistakenly thought was caught up in that instant between only Vic, Luke Herc, and I think it was Dark Viper, yes, in the pits, that second Campos, is now potentially going to be challenging for a podium. Who would have thought on the back of Patterson will get past the Prema courtesy of that 5-second penalty for the collision. We saw off the road goes F1 Scott, struggling to keep it within the track limits, or just have to sit behind for the time being. Then a big gap of 2 seconds now back to you Pandas, with Hoodie Pete and that second Prema on the back of them, with G-Watts, Jess Gamer and Duncan completing our top 10. Punja's managed to recover to a point in 12th, but points certainly now not looking as likely as they were 2 laps ago.
Patterson under pressure from F1 Scott, just needs to let him go, doesn't need to fight this, needs to use F1 Scott's DRS to try and be towed along, as it looks like B-Roy is fighting with Sprout further up through the field as well. We've got 2 battles going on as they go down into the hairpin. B-Roy round the outside, Sprout really closing the door and not allowing the switchback, runs him out wide as F1 Scott moves himself up into P4 past Patterson, and Patterson just needs to follow and hold on to this if he can with that 5-second time penalty. But B-Roy on the attack of Sprout. Sprout 9 lap old tyres, B-Roy 4 lap old tyres. That's going to go to 10 and 5 as B-Roy, will they have a look on the inside? No, they don't. They're going to have to go right round the outside if they can. Need to try and draw Sprout to dive in deep, but no, they don't. Round the outside goes B-Roy. Can they hold it? Like Mr. Dale tried, it's wheel to wheel. Sprout will force him out wide, but will have to concede the inside line once again through turn 3, and B-Roy moves himself onto the podium. We were talking about consistency with B-Roy, and he's back up at the front in P2 to try and really solidify his hopes at a playoff place for the end of this season. F1 Scott now, the next one to go on the charge of Sprout and try and take that podium.
Battles, big gaggle of cars, and we've seen the same thing. Patterson tried the dummy earlier, but this time it was G-Watts going into the back of the second Prema of Hoodie Pete, it was, and is out of the race. No tyres on the car and in the wall, and that is G-Watts out of the race. That promotes Duncan Pandas, and Punju's back up into the top 8. Who would have thought? Got to be careful of F1 Damien behind. There's a big gaggle of cars caught up behind the medium shod Pandas, but it didn't go well for the Invicta car. Hasn't gone well for the Invicta so far. Punju barges through to get up into 7th place. Pandas falls off the road. F1 Damien in that ART trying to force his way alongside and should get up into 8th place as well. Adam Sanson in there too, trying to potentially get the last remaining point on offer, as Punju, you would expect, is going to charge off into the distance. Look at that from Adam Sanson, taking his opportunity when he gets it. No manners needed for that as he flies up into 9th place. Yellow flag. More contact. I'm not sure what that's
the Prema.
for.
It's Patterson. It's the Prema of Patterson. It's gone rounds. That's good. Promote Adam Sanderson, who's back into the points after getting damage early on in this race. Punju's in P6, Damien's in 7th, and Adam Sanderson is now in 8th position and is going to be sort of hunting down Sprout. All of these cars are going to be looking at fighting Sprout as F1 Scott and Sprout go wheel to wheel. F1 Scott takes the position. Sprout keeps their nose in on the inside, and that allows F1 Scott to take 3rd position and the podium in this race. We're on to the final lap. Mr. Dale leads by 5 seconds at the moment. Sprout has a 4-second lead over Duncan. I don't think Duncan's going to be able to close up that gap that quickly. But what has happened in these last few laps of this race? And Mr. Adam Sanderson back into the points position. So is Punju. Both Tridents are going to be scoring today.
Can't take your eyes off this. Since that safety car, the race has come alive. We've got some really good scrapping still going on between Adam Sanson and F1 Damien. The second Trident tries to put a wheel alongside the ART. Does manage to get a bit of a wobble on the exit for F1 Damien, and that could open the Trident up to a potential dive down into turn number 6. Tries the dummy. This time it works. There's no contact as we've seen twice before. There certainly is contact as they reach the apex, though. Bit of a barge out of the way, and Adam Sanson does come off worse and stays in 8th place, I should say, for the time being. Panda struggling to get the power down behind. Then comes Hoodie Pete, who is out of the points ahead of Jess Gamer. This is going to continue for the rest of the race, you would imagine. But out in front, as it so often is, Dale is cruising, but he doesn't have the fastest lap anymore.
No, Dark Viper's going to steal that away. Campos teammates stealing fastest laps off each other. In F2, you can score a fastest lap whether you're in the points or not. As Adam Sanderson, I think, might have got a little bit of front wing damage from that collision with F1 Damien. It was a bit desperate there from Adam Sanderson to go on the inside. Worth the fight, of course, but he probably could have set it up nicely for this back straight as loses the rear end ever so slightly as Mr. Dale now comes through the final couple of corners, goes through the hairpin. One more corner separates him from an amazing drive in this sprint race.
Had to come through the field twice, did it brilliantly first time around. The safety car curtailed his charge earlier on, but put on the soft compound tyres and got 6 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. It is once again Mr. Dale over the line to win. It's becoming a regular theme, it has to be said. Round the final corner comes B-Roy. Brilliant drive on those mediums to take second place ahead of F1 Scott, who will very much take a podium finish ahead of Sprott, who did very well in the end to defend on those very old medium tyres. Duncan, big gaggle of cars. What's gone on around the final corner? I think something's happened to Hoodie Pete, dropping behind Luke Cowick, who picks up a penalty for an unserved penalty. Oh, there must be a corner cutting, and somehow the top 8 actually stays as they were. It was Duncan in 5th ahead of Punju, did really well to recover from that slide earlier on. F1 Damien, and then Adam Sanson. We didn't quite catch what went on in the final corner, but Adam Sanson did drop 3.5 seconds there, so certainly something involving him. Patterson, though, down in 16th, spinning out of the final corner as well, or the second to last corner, I should say. That has not gone well for that second Prema. Was potentially looking at points because of what was happening behind. Ends up with none.
Yeah, Adam Sanderson got overtaken, I believe, by you Pandas or Hoodie Pete. Those guys were scrapping right until the final corner. And I guess desperation just set in. You know, it's the last corner. It's worth a dive to stick a nose up the inside. Unfortunately for Hoodie Pete, got it wrong. Round he went. And Adam Sanderson, thankfully for him, he would be happy to hold on to that P8 and remain and get a point, of course, in this race. Driver of the day, given by the game, Mr. Dale. And, of course, you probably have to give it to him anyway after that race. From pretty much right at the back, Bamford was the only person separating him from being right at the back of this grid to drive through the field to get up to, 3rd position as early as the end of lap 1. Dominating drive up at the front. The safety car then brought out to try and hinder him, made a pit stop, climbed back through the field, took race victory. What a drive once again from Mr. Dale. And, at some point, we're going to start getting bored of this Mr. Dale dominancy, but we're going to have to see what awaits us in the feature race when it's a bit more of an even playing field. F1 Alex away, of course, so we don't have that battle up front. But there's still some fantastic drivers there. B-Roy, great drive from him, and F1 Scott as well, as the results are on screen.
Further down, we went through the top 8. You Pandas just missing out by half a second on the top 8 finishing positions. Hoodie Pete down in 10th. Jess Gamer, Luke Hack, who picked up that late penalty, was looking really good early on, but just faded come the end of the race. Same with Onivik, started on pole position, but got caught up in an instant after the safety car restart. Bamford, King Henny, 2 MP Motorsport cars down in 14th and 15th. Patterson and Dark Viper also getting caught up in instance. G-Watts retired, as did Zach RC. Terrible day if your car is painted in the blue of Virtuosi. That was extremely exciting. I really, really enjoyed that. That was fascinating to watch the strategies from everybody. We had mixed up. We had people on faster tyres coming through. Getting past those guys on the mediums created a really nice bottleneck, actually. And if that's a sign of things to come for the feature race, I'm all for it. Keep me in the commentary box because this could be very, very exciting.
I think it was just interesting to see, those drivers just chopping and changing positions. You couldn't really call, other than the race win looking very likely to go to Mr. Dale, further down it was very difficult to try and call the podium because it just chopped and changed. Sometimes, this driver would have the highest percentage to get into that podium. Luke Horwick, for example, was right up there fighting for a podium position, and then all it took is one small little mistake, one little, error of judgment, a collision here or there, and he was right down at the back of the field. Only Vic probably felt a little bit hard done by as well, was having a fantastic race. The first couple of laps looking very strong in those podium positions, but then that's just the way these sprint races kind of work. As a front runner, you need to drive away as quickly as possible. You need to be as far ahead as quickly as you possibly can. But then those faster drivers are going to slowly sort of gain on you. You're reliant on the drivers in the midfield to hold up the guys who are at the front of the championship, to keep them away from you as long as possible and try and hope that those guys battle. And if they don't, then they could be right on your tail as we get to see all the drivers get disqualified, spin around, and we'll be retiring from this feature race to get into the actual one-shot qualifying and feature race that will be coming very soon.
It was almost like what we saw last week with Silverstone when everyone had their ABS turned off and then went into absolute meltdown because they couldn't start the race. But unfortunately you guys can't see that, but maybe in the future we will show you this very funny starting procedure that we get to see. Someone that we have to talk about, though, B-Roy. We questioned that decision to put the medium tyres on when everybody else put the softs on. Did incredibly well. Pace was very, very strong. Pulled off some beautiful moves. Barsted his way through a couple of cars, but we'll gloss over that in the meantime. But to finish second, another really, really good handful of points. 7 points, nearly said 8 there. 7 points for B-Roy. Puts him right in that playoff hunt.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the percentage of tyres were at the end of that race then, because being on the mediums compared to the softs, I think he was losing time to the likes of F1 Scott near the end there. But was it the right decision? I'm not too sure. I think the softs definitely would have been the better one, and he might have been able to stay with Mr. Dale a little bit longer. But P2 at the end of the day, he'll be very happy with that. It's 7 points on the board, and it's going to put him a little bit closer to those playoffs positions, potentially even actually in the playoff positions as it stands. Now he needs to back that up. Be consistent. Keep yourself at the front of the grid. Score highly, because of course this is the race where the big points are scored, and if you can score highly here, it's going to be a great opportunity with the likes of F1 Alex missing the race to get closer to those guys and really solidify yourself in those playoff positions, because it's very, very close at the moment there.
And we should talk about that, because it was a great day for some of those guys in and around the playoffs. Some drivers not taking the opportunity they had. F1 Scott came back through brilliantly to get third. B-Roy, we just mentioned, was second. Sprout had a really good run to fourth. And obviously Dale is leagues ahead of everybody else. Head and shoulders ahead of the rest of the field out in front. Punji obviously had a decent haul of points. Didn't capitalise too much. Some of these guys, G-Watts had a stinker. Had half his front wing after a couple of laps, I think I remember correctly. Damien picked up a couple of points as well. Some of these guys, this was a great opportunity, especially with the way that the race panned out, for them to take points off their rivals, and they weren't able to do that. I think they'll be disappointed with how that worked.
Yeah, Punji was in net third or fourth with that safety car, so had a great opportunity to get himself onto the podium. Yes, okay, scored points, finished in, I believe it was P7 in this race, P6 in the race. So loses out a couple of positions, and yes, okay, it's better off to happen, of course, in the sprint race, because the difference in points are 6 points for third, whereas he would have got 3 points for P6. So he's only missed out on 3 points there, but every point is going to count, especially as how close it is, and especially for a driver like Punju, who is currently down in 18th position going into this race weekend. So it'll be interesting to see what he did, but I would have to say for Punju, move of the race for me, that overtake on only Vic, and I don't know who it was before, but there was a driver who was on the right-hand side going into the double left 90-degree corner at the end of Sector 2, and then just switched it to the inside after he made that overtake on the brakes, up the inside of Vic to take 2 positions in one. Mwah! Absolutely beautiful there from Punji.
I think it might have been you Pandas. That's when we had the little kerfuffle that really ended only Vic's chances of getting any points, and took Dark Viper with her, and I can't remember who the other person that was caught up in that as well. But yeah, we've seen it from Punju. We don't need to tell you guys how good Punju is, and we don't need to tell you how good some of the racecraft we've seen from Punju is before. Just needs to get it on a consistent basis, because the pace, we've all seen it. The pace is 100% there.
Yeah, certainly, and I think he showed that last season, getting into the playoffs, and I think for him, he'll be looking to try and get into the playoffs again, try and get himself into an F1 seat, because that was the whole reason for him coming down into F2. He threw away his F1 seat, said, I want to go and join F2 for a season, and I want a road to glory kind of season to work my way back in there. Got into the playoffs, didn't quite work out for him. Now it's, crunch time, try and get into the playoffs for F1 24. I think everyone on this grid wants to be on the F1 grid for the start of the F1 24 game.
It's going to be really interesting to see who does grab those playoff spots, but next up, Fuel. It is, of course, one-shot qualifying. It could be quite spicy, I have to say. And what we can do is we can look, because this is the first race, of course, where we've got a comparison between this season and last season. We can look at what drivers were competitive last time out. And we've just been talking about him. Punju qualified third in one-shot qualifying, so definitely it's there. Adam Sanderson came home in 7th in one-shot qualifying as well. Patterson, Jess Games, and Zach RC completed the top 10. And in the race, Punju actually finished 4th as well, the feature race. Zach RC also had a really difficult sprint race, but came through to finish 6th in that. So we could be seeing those guys towards the sharp end once again. Great opportunity, this one-shot qualifying session. And are we going to tell them what the weather's like?
We can. I suppose we can give it away. Why not?
Get your paddles out, get your sponges out, because it might be a little bit damp on circuit, which is going to make everything even more challenging in these F2 cars that do not have a compliant rear end. And we could be seeing some whoopsies from some of our big names that put them towards the back of the pack and leave them with quite a lot to do in that feature race.
Yeah, certainly so. It's going to be a wet qualifying session that's going to await us, but it's going to be dry in the feature race, so it's going to be business as usual for those guys. But it'll be interesting to see what setups they go for. Obviously, you probably want to go for that dry setup, because that's where it's going to benefit you in the race, of course. But if you want to try and get yourself a great qualifying position and start at the front, you could maybe tweak the setup slightly to work better in the wet. I think for maybe Mr. Dale, he might be looking to up that front wing slightly. He loves low downforce, but it's going to be difficult for him in the qualifying session with the wet weather. So he needs to just put a little bit of wing on, and then remember to take it off for the race, and I'm sure he can certainly be fighting at the front once again.
Something we have to talk about with Dale as well is, if you remember back in Japan, full wet conditions, one-shot qualifying, blew the field away. I think it was maybe 3 drives that were within a second of Dale. That shows how dominant he's been this season. This is another great opportunity to put quite the marker down to the rest of his competitors and extend that championship lead further. Like we see most of the time in the work, we should see slightly bigger field spread, and like we said, that gives an opportunity for someone to get a powerful lap in and get themselves potentially inside the top 10, maybe even the top 5. Someone like Jess Games, Patterson, Duncan, G-Watts, they'll be looking to challenge for those really competitive places in this one-shot qualifying session, because the rain does give you quite an opportunity to show your skills and also show your confidence with this F2 car.
Yeah, someone like Jess Games, I think she's been consistent across the season, scoring the odd points. It's not been a high points, and it's not going to be looking like challenging for the Constructors' Championship, but getting themselves into the points. Of course, in F1 and in F2 in Creator Series, we have points all the way down to P15. So it allows the opportunity for drivers who, you know, if you're not quite in that top 10, to still fight for positions throughout the field, because every position counts. And someone like Jess, you know, picking up 2 points in Brazil, 1 point in Japan, 3 points in fan vote, like has scored every single time in the feature races. So we'll be looking to continue that streak. Of course, we go into the feature race in China. And I think she's got a strong chance of doing that, because like I say, the consistency just has been there all season.
Yeah, consistency there. Just wants to try and raise the ceiling a little bit on those performances. Maybe pick up 6 or 7 points, and then you could be getting towards maybe even the top 10 in the championship, because it is very, very close, like you said, at the start of the stream. What are your predictions, though? I mean, it would be stupid to look past Dale, wouldn't it? We know that he does sometimes have a mistake in him. I think that is fair to say, and I think he'll probably agree with that. Anybody else you've got your eye on, though?
But there, it depends on track limits. If he doesn't get any track limits around here, I think he'll be fine across the rest of the race. He'll qualify highly, and then he'll have a strong race, of course. He loves to go soft mediums, though. So it'll be interesting to see whether we get what we had last time with F1 Scott closing in those dying moments. So my eye is on F1 Scott. You know, third in the championship, looked very strong in terms of pace. I think he's very patient with making his overtakes, and it you know, it's not great for him in the sprint race, because Dale just seems to be able to find that gap and be able to get higher up very early on, and whereas F1 Scott is lacking in that area. But in a feature race where they're both qualifying near the front of the grid, they're going to probably most likely have opposite tyre strategies once again, and it's going to be up to F1 Scott, who can close in that gap and try and make those overtakes right at the end of the race. So my eyes on F1 Scott in this race.
A straight fight. It could be very, very interesting. I just want to go back to that point you made about Dale, because we were questioning it at the start of the season, weren't we? Will he be able, in the sprint races, to work his way back through the pack? Will he be able to do it cleanly and without getting damaged? And he's certainly done that. And he's probably, I know you and Unstopped Rob and even Matty D, to be fair as well, last season, were very, very good at getting their way through. This must be the best we've seen from anyone, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't think I've had a race where I went from the back of the grid to third in one lap, and I don't think I saw that from Rob, and I don't really think I saw that from Matty as well. So he certainly has got that knack of coming through the field, and that's what I'm most surprised with. That's one of the things going into the season that I thought Dale would struggle with, because mentally he's not always been the strongest driver. He kind of lacked that discipline. If one mistake happened, it would dwell on him, and another mistake would follow. And that's certainly what we saw in the F1. It was very easy for him to pick up penalties and to fall through the field. But here, the mentality game has been very strong, and he's been able to play those overtakes in a smart way. Be patient. Only really go for overtakes when you're 100% sure, and put your car in a position that doesn't allow you to be vulnerable from being pushed off wide by another driver making a mistake, or another driver losing the rear end and driving into your car. So it's been a great show from Dale so far this season, and I'm sure it's going to continue in this feature race. But for excitement of the broadcast, let's hope that he mucks up this qualifying lap, invalidates, starts at the back of the grid, and we see some more banging overtakes from him.
It's a new look Dale, though, isn't it? We have to say. And if he does get promoted, which, let's be honest, is pretty likely at this stage, halfway through the season, he's going to be a changed man. I think he could be really competitive. We saw it in flashes in F1. Some of his qualifying performances were outstanding, mixing it up with the really big boys. If he can take this new mentality he's got, where he's being a little bit more careful, thinking more about lap 50 rather than lap 5, he could be a serious threat for podium positions, surely?
Yeah, I mean, Dale has always been strong in qualifying pace in the series, certainly in previous seasons as well. I think it's a different game though, F1. Like, it is just so sweaty and so close. Like, here you have a big mix of ability, whereas I'd say, you know, the top 15 drivers are very, very strong and close together. And then you have the likes of myself, Fabio, in Fratic. You have Chesnoy, Curbs, and Matty D, who are just like that little bit off the pace, able to be with the train in certain races, but not consistently always up there. And I think that's where the mental game is just a whole nother level. It's all about playing it smart. When do I stay in that train? When do I make that overtake? When do I burn that ERS? It's very much like F1 esports in a sense, just, you know, a second off the pace. The tactics are very, very similar about staying in the trains, and that's going to be interesting to see how Dale then adapts from going from this, whereas it's, you know, it's so enjoyable and you're able to make overtakes, you're able to fight at the front, to then going, okay, now I am 15th position and I'm in a train and I've got to stay behind this driver, because if I battle them, then I've lost my chance of higher points. So it's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to that.
Do you think Fabio will appreciate you dragging him down like that, considering you've said that you're gunning for that Ferrari seat?
I don't know. I mean, Fabio's going to be at F2 next season anyway, so I'll be looking forward to commentating on him on the F1 24 game. But, you know, if we look at results, he's only scored 8 points this season and he is in that bottom 5. I think pace-wise from Fabio, there's some strong pace in there, but I think he's another driver like Dale, who mentally is one of the weakest, and which is such a surprise for one of the strongest drivers on the grid, you know, physically. Mentally, I do believe he is one of the weakest, because it's very easy for myself even just to go wheel to wheel sometimes and get in his head, and he loses positions. So that's something that he needs to work on, because I do think he's got the pace to be definitely up in that midfield in F1 and fight nearer the front. But one mistake here or there and he just drops like a stone in water.
Well, one-shot qualifying in very, very treacherous conditions is about to get underway. Is there anyone you'd like to ride on board with, though, Hayden, for this lap?
Oh, let's ride on board with F1 Scott if we can grab him.
Oh, let's try and grab him. I can't see where he is at the moment. He's in 7th
P16,
place. I think we've got him. No, we've
17
missed
for the
out.
moment.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, watching him is P17. It's full wet tyres. Obviously, you know, of course, in F2 cars, we don't have those intermediate tyres. So F1 Scott, we're riding on board at the moment through the right-hander of turn 2, then flick it back over for turn 3. You want to keep it nice and tight. You want to get on the throttle as early as possible to get the car as straight as possible as well. F1 Scott, though, currently ahead of Mr. Dale. Right up at the front of the order, though, Adam Sanderson leads the way. It could be looking at pole position right now, but there we go. Adam Sanderson shoots up. Dale shoots up to the top. So does F1 Scott, late on the brakes, but then not quite sorting out the exit. F1 Scott now dropping to 7th position. But Mr. Dale, business as usual, currently at the front of the order. F1 Scott now through this left. So different to Formula 1 cars. You just got to be so patient on the throttle, whereas an F1 car is completely flat through the left and you chuck in through the right, feather the throttle slightly, whereas in the F2 cars, you're just dabbing the brakes slightly and you're just trying to float it through the corner, and of course you've got to have a weaker grip on the steering wheel in these wet conditions, because it's going to switch over on you left and right and you've got to grab it and you've got to try and really handle these wet conditions as much as possible. F1 Scott, currently a strong qualifying for himself, but not quite where he'd want to be. P8 at the moment as he gets himself through the right hand, and now a couple of straights to kind of sort himself. This corner can really make or break your lap. You want to keep it nice and tight to the inside, but get on the throttle as early as possible, because if you get on late, it's going to harm you all the way down this straight. And going to the falling through the order is Mr. Dale. Must have got it wrong through that corner. He's dropped from being at the front to now being in 9th position. Two of our championship contenders, 8th and 9th in this qualifying session so far. The newbie, Bamford, is in P3 right now. Punju's up there as well through the hairpin. Mr. Scott gets it nice and tightly, but can he get himself further up the grid?
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see. We've got a bit of a mixed-up order, which is what the rain usually brings. Dale's fallen even further through the field down to 14th, but it looks like it's going to be his Campos teammate of Dark Viper, who was smashed pole position by nearly 9/10 of a second. Bamford, the new boy, like you said, in the MP Motorsport car in 2nd place, and I think it was G-Watts rounding out our top 3. F1 Scott, it was a messy lap, I have to say, but he does come home in 6th place, was a little bit late on the brakes into a couple of those corners. There it is. Look at Dark Viper there, though. 9/10 clear of Bamford. Nobody else within a second. What is it about these Campos drivers? We'll have to wait and see, because Dale is a long, long way back. G-Watts, good lap there. B-Roy, again, consistently towards the front header. Hoodie Pete rounding out our top 5. F1 Scott in a Prema sandwich ahead of you Pandas. Spro 8 will be probably a little bit disappointed with 9th ahead of F1 Damien. Luke Hack, Punju again will be disappointed. Dale, though, was 2nd for, I think, the whole of the middle sector. He was up there in 2nd with Dark Viper. 13th, big mistake there. And he's going to fight his way through. Jess Gamer, Zach RC down the order as well. Duncan, Adam Sanson, fastest first sector. He ended up in 17th. Then only Vic and King Henny at 19th and 18th place. That was a weird way around to say that. Separated by less than a tenth, though. So, That was not quite what we were expecting. 4.5 seconds covering our 19 drivers, and it was probably the wrong way round.
But that's what we want. We've got a mixed up grid for this feature race. It's not going to be quite what we're used to seeing, where the front runners just kind of drive away with it. We're going to see Mr. Dale work his way back through the grid once again. It'll be interesting to see what setups everybody was on, because Dark Viper very much clear of the rest of the field. Were they running a bit more of a intermediate setup to benefit themselves in the wet conditions, but will they be struggling in this feature race? Only time will tell. Great performances though from the likes of Hoodie Pete to get themselves up into that top 5, and G-Watts as well. G-Watts has been a bit more of a sprint race merchant, benefits from starting nearer the front of the grid usually, but you know, this season in the feature races has kind of switched that around. He's got 10 points in Brazil, got 12 points in Japan, missed out last time at the fan vote GP, and so will be looking to try and score highly once again in this feature race in China.
Interesting calls from some people saying that Dale is just dropping himself down the order because he's a little bit bored and he wants to try and fight his way through again. I certainly wouldn't
that old
put it past
chestnut.
him,
We've all said that. We've all said that in the past.
Just sandbagging. But yeah, he's definitely got his work cut out. But we've seen him gain, what was it? He started at 15 places in one lap. I think he can probably gain 10 places to get up onto the podium this time. But he has got a few of his faster drivers ahead of him. Dark Viper though, brilliant lap. 9/10 clear of everybody else. But we've got to shout out Bamford though, don't we?
Yeah, great qualifying performance from them. Jumping into the series' first race, this time in F2. And yeah, puts it into P2. It's opting for the soft tyres though, so you can tell it's their first time in F2. You can tell the experienced drivers because they know that the mediums to the soft is the better strategy. Although Hoodie Pete, you know, one of those experienced drivers who is, I believe, currently flying through the field at the moment, wants to get on with this race, is going for an overtake into the hairpin for the time being, but can't quite get it done on V-Roy. Or no, was maybe just getting back into position. Must have made a mistake and wanted to get back up into P5, maybe. As no, that's overtaken Dark Viper. Don't know what Hoodie Pete wants to do. Wants to get on with this race at the moment. We'll need to hope that they don't get themselves disqualified. Let's run through the tyres at the moment. So notably, we've got Bamford on softs, Hoodie Pete, F1 Scott, Patterson, Punju, Only Vic, and King Henny all on soft tyres. Now, they're going to be rapid at this first stage of the race, but it's going to be very difficult for them later. Bamford needs to jump Dark Vipers as soon as possible and then run away, kind of like what we saw Dale do last time out in Silverstone. But then the guys on the medium tyres, it's interesting to note that Dale's opted for those medium tyres being further down the field. He's looking for that later stage of the race. Of course, a safety car could come out, could benefit those guys, of course, and could be really on the attack at the end of this race. Hoodie Pete flying on this installation lap, on this formation lap. I found out the hard way in Baku last season that you do get tyre wear on the formation lap. I was weaving all over the place, having fun, trying to warm up my tyres, and then got 30% tyre wear by the end of lap 1, whilst we also had a virtual safety car. So Hoodie Pete needs to be careful of that. Just hold the brake, hold the throttle. It's so difficult to get tyre temps into these cars because it just feels like it's not gaining. But then when you get into that final sector, it really starts to grow. As I'm watching this shot now of all the cars right at the back there as Hoodie Pete, they're keeping their distance from him. I don't know what's happened in the VC right now, but nobody wants to be anywhere near Hoodie Pete in this race as they're coming through the final sector, and they're going to be looking to get this race underway very, very shortly. But Hoodie Pete leads the way despite being 5th position in this race. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do from those soft tyres, of course. And F1 Scott as well on the softs too will be looking to close up the field, get himself for the front, and do what Dale did last time around and really lead from the front, and then have track position and try and defend as they get themselves into the last few moments. Hoodie Pete now dropping in the field, getting back into his usual spot. There's once again another gap forming, this time between F1 Scott and Hoodie Pete, as they all are lining up on the grid. It's going to be King Henny and Only Vic, who are one of the last drivers to get ourselves onto the grid, as King Henny now comes through the final corner to get this race underway.
Hoodie Pete went for some extravagant driving on the formation lap, but has parked inadequately, I think is the best way to put that. So those tyre temps are going to be gone. It's a Campos driver on pole, but it's not the one we've been used to. That one is down in 13th. Dark Viper is on the medium tyres, and we're going to get ready to go. It's Campos versus MP Motorsport. We've got 5 lights ahead of our drivers for the feature race here in Shanghai. It is lights out, but we don't go away just yet. We've got a bit of a delay, and now we're underway. And we've got a good start from the Pramers of, I think that is Patterson. F1 Scott getting away nicely as well. Look at those soft tyres. This is going to be Bamford into the lead into turn number 1. He's going to try it up the inside. Is there going to be contact as they meet in the middle? No. Swinging it around the outside is Dark Viper, but they're going to continue to squabble through the snail section. The 2 Pramers on the charge. Patterson up into 4th place, getting past B-Roy, who's lost a couple of positions in there as well. F1 Scott trying to get stuck in 2, but it is Dark Viper still in the lead, ahead of Bamford, G-Watts, Patterson and B-Roy.
Everybody well behaved through the first couple of corners, just not quite as the same as what we saw in the sprint race, as Mr. Dale now in P9, but up the inside goes a Campos car. I believe that is Mr. Dale. On the inside, there's a VAR car going sideways across the gravel. It looks like Duncan again, not a good start to the race. It's really been a bad day for Duncan so far in these races, as Mr. Dale moves himself side by side now with Pandas, as Pandas has to concede that position, but will get the inside line into the next corner, but unfortunately cannot fight it anymore. Mr. Dale with a fantastic start, moving themselves up into P17 in this race.
What a start. We sound like a broken record, but it's Dale make his way through the pack very well again. That's a Trident off in the background. I think that might be Punji batting away with Pandas. Probably have to give that place back. Hoodie Pete, who's had a bad start as well, trying to get involved. F1 Scott bumps into the back of Patterson. That could allow championship rival. He probably didn't expect to see Dale so soon in this feature race, but he's got the Campos right on his tail. Those soft tyres should give him a decent advantage to hold on to 6th place ahead of Dale for the time being, but a little bit wide. Is this the opportunity that Dale needs to get ahead of his championship rival?
Punju just gets past the Pandas there, as F1 Scott now is getting overtaken by Mr. Dale. Mr. Dale on the inside, those low wings benefiting him as they go down into the hairpin now, hard on the brakes. Needs to make sure he doesn't run into the back of the Premier of Patterson, gets the manoeuvre done, and that's not what you expect. Mr. Dale's on the mediums, Scott is on the softs. You'd expect Scott to be absolutely flying at this early stage of the race, but it's just not working for him here in China, as Patterson and B-Roy go wheel to wheel. Mr. Dale wants to get involved. Patterson moves to the left-hand side, blocks him. They go free wide now, as I'm going to watch on board from F1 Scott. Gets a perfect POV of this battle. Dale has to back out of it. There's contact, and that's involved Mr. Dale, who's gone sideways. They've all gone around. Dale's definitely got front wing damage. That's surely going to be a safety car in this race. And Dale, that's not going to be great for him. I'm sure that is front wing damage on the right-hand side. More contact further down the field, as looks like Zach RC as getting involved there with Duncan. Patterson, unfortunately, looked like the instigator on that, was on the inside through turn 1, just tapped the outside car there, and that got in the way of Dale. F1 Scott got caught up, and then it just blocked the whole track for everybody. No safety car, and that works out perfectly for these guys at the front. Dark Viper, Bamford, G-Watts, Spro also moving up in a P4. Be interesting to see whether they've got front wing damage. It looks like their front wing is clean, as Mr. Dale struggling now through that right-hander. The whole right side looks like it's missing off Mr. Dale's car. That's certainly going to affect him and also give him a slow pit stop later on in this race.
Punju up the inside, trying to get 7th place off F1. Damien did get halted by the carnage that ensued at turn number 1, but gets past the ART using those soft tyres to his advantage. And it could be Trident 7 and 8 as Adam Sanson has a tentative look up the inside. Wasn't very committed. Allows Pandas to maybe have a look around the outside, but obviously doesn't see the Carlin car because Pandas squeezed right over onto the grass, and that allows Zach RC to get up into 10th place as Pandas falls outside of the top 10. Dale, like we saw, with big damage, was struggling slightly with that front wing and will probably struggle for pace for the remainder of this stint. But like you said, this has hugely benefited our top 3. They are in a world away from everybody else. 5 seconds clear of Spurry. Batting between Zach RC. Is that going down into the hairpin? It's Pandas under pressure again. Adam Sanson trying to get involved. Zach RC getting up into 9th place here. Really good start from the Invicta, who needed it because it was a bad qualifying and a bad sprint race. Yeah,
I don't know what's happened with Zach RC there, whether he got an illegal overtake as he had to lose 2 positions there to Pandas and Adam Sanderson, or whether it was just a bit more of an over-aggressive move, a bit of an unfair move on Adam Sanderson and Pandas, and opted to give that position back. So Adam Sanderson back into P9 now in this race, as Punju now on the attack of Hoodie Pete, up the inside through turn 2. Hoodie Pete will come back through turn 3. Can Punju hold it around the outside? Hoodie Pete closes the door, but here comes F1 Damien right on the back of these guys. There's another yellow flag. It looks like it's Duncan, no, Luke Horwick further down the field. No, it was King Henny actually, sorry, further down the field. But back to this battle as F1 Damien looking on the attack now of Hoodie Pete. Punju's on the inside though, as they're all squabbling away, and that's allowing Mr. Dale to break away from this cluster of cars. But here comes Damien once again now on the inside. Will Hoodie Pete leave the room? Doesn't need to. He's got that benefit of soft tyres, flies around the outside and moves himself and holds on to P6. Punju though will be annoyed to lose out on P7.
A very interesting racecraft. Punju's going to try this move again. He's executed it a couple of times already. Has got some front wing damage from that little tete-a-tete between himself and Hoodie Pete. He was giving it large through turn number 1, and Hoodie Pete certainly returned the favour as they banged tyres for about 10 seconds straight, and the Prema coming out on top. And I wonder if Punju's pace is going to be compromised by that front wing damage. Dale doesn't look too slow, still just a second behind Spurry in 4th and 5th. And then it's this battle of Hoodie Pete ahead of F1 Damien, then the 2 Tridents and Pandas completing our top 10. F1 Scott, we spoke about it, trying to use those soft tyres, getting caught caught up in that instant a few laps ago. And is this going to be Damien trying to get past Hoodie Pete? I wonder if the soft tyres are already potentially struggling. Use of DRS. Hoodie Pete does throw a defensive shape over to the middle of the track. Dummy absolutely sold, but I don't think the ART has got enough overspeed to try and get alongside, and doesn't. We'll have to potentially defend from Punju behind, and they are going to stay in the same order, but Punju tries the little switchback. Has looked very racy so far as he drifts through 14 and 15 and up to the final corner. Is this going to be a move around the outside? Will be audacious, probably going to have to use the runoff area, and goes over the curb off the road, and is probably going to hold on to 7th place, you would imagine, and rejoin very safely, thankfully, behind the ART, but they're still side by side coming up into turns 1 and 2. They will not let this down. Punju on the inside this time and should have the advantage of tyre grip and speed to get up into 7th place. F1 Dame are going to try and hang it around the outside, but like Lando Norris found out in the sprint race yesterday, that is not going to work out for you, sir.
Now it's up to Punju to go on the attack of Hoodie Pete and try and secure that 6th position, and then use the soft tyres to try and reel in Mr. Dale, who's back in the DRS zone of Spro, and that is what Mr. Dale needs to do. Now Punju having a look around the outside. Big lunge from Punju around the outside. A little bit of a drift there, locking the rear tyres. And once again, Hoodie Pete closing that door. But now Punju will have the inside line through this fast left-hander. A little bit of wheel banging once again between these two. No love lost at all. But Hoodie Pete remains. He keeps his front nose in once again as they go wheel to wheel. And Hoodie Pete looks like he's just got better aero to get up the inside and secure that position. And this is working in massive favours for Mr. Dale right now, because that gap is extending. 5 seconds right now. Hoodie Pete goes defensive but opts out of it. Punju, could he have a look in towards the left-hander? No. Doesn't need to get frustrated. Needs to use the DRS to advantage. It looks like Hoodie Pete has great aero through the corners, but that means he's surely going to be lacking down the straight. So with the DRS benefit, it's up to Punju now to try and go on the attack and secure P6, and then hope Hoodie Pete holds up the likes of F1 Damien further back, as Mr. Dale now overtaking Spro. So despite that front wing damage, Mr. Dale now moving up into 4th position, as here comes Punju on the inside using the DRS to advantage. But Hoodie Pete again just really great on the brakes, able to hold it around the outside, but now surely is going to have to concede position and going to have to look in his mirrors or for an attack for F1 Damien as they go down the start-finish straight.
Every time they were side by side, they made contact. They've been too busy knocking 10 bails out of each other because they dropped 6 seconds to the group in front of them. 6.6 seconds, I think that is now.
Right on the attack of Dale.
And Dale continue to squabble over 4th and 5th. Front wing is compromised, but Dale, pace and confidence certainly not, as he swings it through and holds on to 4th place ahead of that Dams car and can try and set off after the group in front, but that gap is still 5 seconds. Returning to the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, and potentially 9th with Upan's in there as well. We're still in the same order, but Adam Sanderson is going to be next to try and get ahead of Hoodie Pete, because that Trident has got ahead of F1 Damien.
Spro would be disappointed with losing out on that position with F1 Dale having that front wing damage, or unless of course Spro does have some other damage to his car that we can't actually see on there. So no front wing damage there for Spro, but maybe some side pod or something like that. But Mr. Dale flying past Spro and actually gapping him nearly to 1 second at the moment, as Adam Sanderson, looks to go on the attack now of Hoodie Pete. But Hoodie Pete really strong, to be fair, through the corners, but needs to try and stick with Punju. Make sure these guys don't battle, because they're going to be on the slower tyres later on, and is going to have to go on the defensive once we go through the pit stop phase. Bamford, though, looking very strong, still keeping up with Dark Viper. That's certainly what they need to do on those soft tyres. Stay with the front runners, use those... Oh, as we got a driver going off wide there. That's you Pandas, who's dipped off out wide, and they're going to be fighting with Duncan now as they go wheel to wheel through the right-hander onto the back straight. They should both get DRS here, and it looks like the inside, though, does go to Upandas, but then a bit of a slide, and that allows Duncan to retake that position, as Upandas does have a penalty to their name. It is a total of 3-second time penalty, so must be for corner cutting somewhere, as they're weaving back and right, left and right, goes up the inside, though, into the hairpin. Can they get it slowed down? Wow! Nearly goes into the back of F1 Damien there. Way too late, as you said, and B-Roy now takes that position.
That was a day late and a dollar short, it has to be said. Penalty picked up and a few places lost. B-Roy benefited from that up into 11th place. Duncan, it was a weird little snap going through the banking there of turn 13, and really didn't work out. Hoodie Pete under pressure from the second Trident of Adam Sanderson. That is not a very nice camera angle up the inside. In fact, is the Trident of Adam Sanderson trying to push Hoodie Pete further down the order, and does do very effectively. Will the Pramer, who's been very elbows out so far, try and hold it around the outside? Does, but runs out of room, and it's now going to be F1 Damien just trying to attack the Pramer. Those soft tyres clearly starting to struggle now. Got a yellow flag, but that is Bamford off in the grass on the right-hand side coming out of the exit of turn number 6.
Must have just lost it on acceleration. These cars, it's so easy to lose the rear end. You benefit from having a lower diff, but then, it's going to really snap on you under throttle, so you have to be so careful with the throttle, and that has fallen away from Bamford and actually promoted Mr. Dale onto the podium now. So we got B-Roy and Duncan fighting further down the field. Fights going on everywhere in this race. B-Roy, we talked about his consistency. He'll need to put himself up through the field once again to try and score some really good points, and he certainly does that now with a good overtake there on Duncan into the left-hander, and now needs to try and close up that gap to F1 Damien to try and get the DRS. Needs a strong braking zone into the left-hander to close up to Damien, as there's another yellow flag. It's somebody else. I think this is only Vic this time who's gone round. Yes, it is. Out of the double 90-degree left-hander, loses the rear end, and is going to be rejoining just ahead of King Henny. So unfortunate there for F1 Vic, but further up through the field, we've got B-Roy now, a little bit further back from F1 Damien. I don't quite know if they got the DRS from them, though.
The rear wing is open for Duncan. Rear wing flap open, and we are going to see this battle continue for 10th and 11th place. Look at the straight line speed advantage that Van Amersfoort car has got. No contest as Hoodie Pete and Adam Sanderson swap places once again. The Prema getting back up into 7th place with F1 Damien in that second ART car, right underneath the rear wing of these two cars, and this is going to battle continue down into turn number 1, the snail section. Duncan going a little bit wide through the final corner, though, as I think that was Patterson maybe diving off into the pits in the Prema. Yes, it is. So the first of our drivers to blink. Are we 3 wide further forward, though, with Hoodie Pete batting the Trident and the ART. Hoodie Pete's been involved in every scrap we've seen so far. Adam Sanderson trying to swing it around the outside. That's not going to work. F1 Damien makes contact with Devon Butler. It's a very Devon Butler thing to do, it has to be said. Adam Sanderson going to try and continue to hold it up the inside, and now it's turned into defence when it was an attack a couple of moments ago. I think Damien squeezed out again. Both drift on the exit of the snail section. Somehow it's the ART that has managed to come out on top.
Yeah, Adam Sanderson looks up the inside into the hairpin, can't quite get it done. These two obviously came together at the end of the sprint race with Adam Sanderson going for a desperate lunge, opted against it, has learned from his mistake, and has decided not to. Hoodie Pete has got to be one of the best battlers we have seen so far today, really defending hard for those positions. It may be not going to benefit their race later on, of course, because they're going to lose those positions to those faster tyres. But in terms of having fun, having great contests, and having fantastic battles out there, Hoodie Pete has certainly done that. Has it been on the line in terms of aggression? Quite possibly. Has he wheel to wheel with every driver and bump wheels with them? Of course he has, but we love to see it in the commentary box. It's been fantastic entertainment, and Hoodie Pete still holding P7. The batting, though, has allowed Punju to get a 2.7 gap and is now not quite able to catch up to Sproats. The gap's kind of extending up further in the field. Mr. Dale not really closing in too much on G-Watts at the moment, but further down in the midfield, we've got battles galore as Duncan once again on the attack of B-Roy, has got the rear wing open, will go to the inside again. B-Roy unable to get the DRS off the car ahead, and is going to be conceding that position around the outside of the hairpin. We'll have to watch out for the driver, which is Zach RC, who is closing up. These guys, B-Roy all out of shape on acceleration there, as Hoodie Pete looks to fall down the field. Is he into the box? Yes, he is. Hoodie Pete, the first one to jump, as is Bamford as well, as they all come into the pit lane off the soft tyres.
Huge fishtail on the exit of turn 14 and 15 for B-Roy. That was incredible to see. Did very, very well to catch that, but does lose that place to Duncan. Both of them, it has to be said, were mugged by you Pandas on the previous lap. That road and Carling car now up into 7th on the road. Bamford into the pits after that spin a couple of laps ago. Punju in, as is Hoodie Pete. Those drivers that were on the soft tyres now switch to the yellow striped mediums to leave. Everybody else going again. This time it's Duncan's turn, though, to have a bit of a wobble coming out of the snail section. That is not who we were trying to look at. Here is the Van Amersfoort car with B-Roy still on the back foot, and now goes very late into turn number 6. These guys can't get enough of each other. They're just so desperate to battle. Another wobble on the exit for the Van Amersfoort, but I don't think B-Roy is close enough to make this move this time. He did it on the previous lap. Has a little look up the inside, but I don't think it's quite going to pay off for that ART driver.
No, he had a little look up the inside, and our camera just cut away. The one that I was watching, it looked like he was just going to send it into the rear and send them both round, but luckily they both make it through the corner. B-Roy running off onto the curb and losing the rear. Great save, but that's going to put him under pressure now from Zach RC, who unfortunately just a little bit too far off and unable to go for the overtake into the left-hander. Now those guys on the medium tyres, they're going to have brand new tyres, better grip compared to the mediums. They need to really benefit from this undercut and try and put themselves as far up the front as they possibly can before they're then under attack from those drivers that will be on the softs. Mr. Dale still remaining, keeping that gap to G-Watts at the moment as Dark Viper extends their lead up at the front. Adam Sanderson within the DRS of F1 Damien. And the closest battle looks like it's you Pandas, who has a little look on Adam Sanderson but decides against it. Holds rag for the time being as a drift there from Adam Sanderson into the hairpin. You Pandas nearly got caught up by that, but all of them seem to get through nice and okay, and nobody looking to bail into the pits just yet, of course, because they're all on medium tyres.
Duncan wide again, too late on the brakes, and that is all the invitation that B-Roy needs going around the final corner to get up into 8th place. Van Amersfoort could lose another place to the victor of Zach RC. Duncan, for this last half a lap, has got some front wing damage, and he's been everywhere except the racing line and falls behind the Invicta car. And now it's going to be his teammate Luke Howick on the prowl to try and get up into the top 10. This is not going well for Duncan, battling too hard with B-Roy, has lost a little bit of that front wing. It hasn't affected Dale too much and goes into the back of Zach RC. This could be Luke's opportunity to get up into the top 10. Duncan just falling through the field now with that damage and batting a little bit too hard, but I think he's going to be okay for the time being. Pandas and Adam Sanderson still squabbling. We can see that a look up the inside for the Road Incarnate car doesn't materialise.
This is big for the playoffs championship as well. Duncan currently holding P5 for the time being, with the rivals like B-Roy now getting that overtake. And you've got G-Watts, who's currently running in a fantastic second position. And it is net second position in this race as well. So things are definitely going to be changing after this race in the standings and in that fight for the playoffs, of course. Right at the front, though, doesn't look like much is going to change, as Mr. Dale is currently the lead out of the championship contenders. Mr. F1 Scott, sadly, getting caught up in that collision, dropping down to 17th, and will probably have to make another pit stop in this race as well. But further up in the field, we've got you Pandas, who is possibly going to go on the attack of Adam Sanderson. Sadly for you Pandas, Adam Sanderson also has DRS and gets it right on the curb. Has to wrestle with the steering wheel to keep it on the circuit. But as I was saying, Adam Sanderson has DRS, who is unable to close in down this straight, and Adam Sanderson just a little bit too far away from F1 Damien to close in as well. Zach RC, though, will be trying to close in. We've got drivers in the pits up at the front. Dark Viper, our leader, into the box, which means G-Watts leads the race of the feature.
Zach RC unable to get past B-Roy there. Very respectful. Not a lot of room has been given by a lot of drivers, but B-Roy runs wide. This time it could be an opportunity, but he doesn't lose too much time. It will be a corner cutting warning, though. These two both staying out and could continue their battle on the run down into turn number 1. The Invicta car's gaining, but won't be enough to make an audacious lunge into turn number 1. But again, B-Roy sliding wide. Those medium tyres could be starting to struggle because he's not troubling the racing line through this now section.
Mr. Dale catching up at the front there for P2, just gained about 0.3 of a second on G-Watts at the start of the lap, so not sure if that was a mistake from G-Watts there, but Mr. Dale has to go longer in this race because his teammate Dark Vipers came into the box and is ahead of him. So Mr. Dale has to go one lap later. Be interested to see whether they do go onto softs on the next lap. I'm sure that they will. As further down the field, we got Dark Vipers looking to make a move on those soft tyres on Jess Gamer and moves up into 6th position. It's going to be trying to utilize those soft tyres to get themselves back up into the front and obviously regain that 6-second lead that they did have over G-Watts. Further down the field, Sprout, though, is going to be looking to try and do the undercut on the likes of G-Watts and Mr. Dell. Utilize these soft tyres. They've got nice clean air in front of themselves and try and push hard on the attack of Dale and G-Watts to see what can happen in this race. Patterson further down the field is getting close to Mr. Adam Sanderson, who's just come into the pits as well. Both of them are on newer tyres, but Adam on those fresher soft tyres should be able to drive away from Patterson. Needs to get those tyres up to temperature as soon as possible in order not to lose time and regain the DRS once again from F1 Damien.
That car C should be on the prowl again against B-Roy, the camera angle. We're looking behind, we can't find it. There we go. Moving over to the right-hand side was a defensive move shown by B-Roy over to the middle of the circuit. But this time I think the Invicta car is going to go through. Late on the brakes again, though, for the ART. B-Roy doesn't want to give up any position in this race so far. Will this be a race into the pits like we saw over 10 years ago, wasn't it, between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton? You would think they're going to come in both diving into the pits now, yes. And it is B-Roy that holds onto the track position. Dark Viper is going to fly past everybody now. And you think everybody that stayed out is now going to put on those soft tyres, which have been very, very fast in this race so far.
Yep, everybody into the box at the moment. So Dark Vipers retakes the lead of this race. Where is Bamford going to come out? They're going down the start-finish straight now. Jumps Jess Gamer. Will they come out ahead of Mr. Dale? Of course, it was very close between these guys. It does come out ahead of Mr. Dale. Comes out behind G-Watts. Just slightly. He can see G-Watts up the road, and he is going to have tyres up to temperature, whereas G-Watts isn't. It's going to go through this first sector just kind of struggling with a bit of understeer as the tyres build up temperature to the beginning of this lap. But he is going to come under pressure from Mr. Dell within the next couple of sectors as well, within the next couple of laps, because they are on the soft tyres and they're on the better tyres at the moment. It looks like G-Watts has got his tyres up to temperature and is now going to be driving away from Bamford. Mr. Dell will be looking to try and take back his podium position on the back of Bamford as they go through the left and the right. He's going to really gain with those grippier, soft tyres through the right as well. Keep it nice and tight on the corner. Bamford a little bit away from the apex, but meets a later apex to keep it straight on the brakes through the double left. And Mr. Dale needs to make sure he gets this overtake done as early as possible to get onto the DRS of GWATS, but needs to also be patient to not make a move that's going to get himself into trouble. Goes up the inside, into the left though. Bamford, nice and respectful, sees that coming from a mile off, gets out of the way from that and wants to hold on to his P3. Doesn't want to get involved in anything too early on, but Spro, look at this. Box's one lap earlier is right on the back of this battle.
Going to be interesting to see who comes out on top here. We were talking about Dale it being a damage limitation race with that front wing damage that he still possesses, but could be thinking about second place. Who would have thought Championship Leader will extend that advantage that he's got? Bamford maybe thinking about trying to come back at Dale down the back straight, but isn't close enough to make that move. We're going to return to squabbles in the midfield. Pandas is very close to the back of Hoodie Pete coming out of turn 13. This should be a move to get back up into the top 10. Pandas holding a penalty is going to fly past the Prema of Hoodie Pete on those much older medium compound tyres, and that is 10th place, although Patterson is going to try and hang it around the outside, locks the rears though and slides into the rear wheel of the Rodin Carlin car, but does in the end concede 10th position. And Spro has got past Bamford into turn number 1. We weren't watching it, the battle's going to continue. The MP Motorsport car on the medium struggling to hold on to track position does fall down into 5th place.
Yeah, good move there from Spro to get up the inside of Bamford, and now will try to go on the attack of Mr. Dale, but needs to make sure they are quick through the middle sector. If they're not, they're going to lose that DRS and it's going to hurt them. But Mr. Dale closing in on the DRS of GWATS. GWATS has had a fantastic race so far to put themselves into second position, but it's going to come under pressure in these final 5 laps of this race, as Mr. Dale and Spro, 2 drivers very quick in these F2 cars, will be looking to hunt him down.
This could be, at the moment, if it stays like this, Dale's worst result in a feature race. 3rd place, who would have thought it? 2 wins last time out in Japan and the Fando. He's going to be challenging for 2nd place despite being compromised with that front wing damage and is gaining time. Hand over fist over that Invicta of not GWATS this week, it has to be said. But yeah, this could be the opportunity that Dale gets, the first real opportunity. We've got a yellow flag. I think Patton and B-Roy have come to blows. Yes, they have. It's the Prema that's off the road in the grass. B-Roy running very wide and clatters into the polystyrene barrier on the inside as well. Nearly takes Zach RC with him too. But yeah, disaster for those 2 drivers as they fall outside of the top 10. And Zach RC actually picks up a penalty there, interestingly enough. Now, Dale, is he close enough going down the back straight to the back of GWATS? I don't think he is, and doesn't gain too much time with the DRS, so will hold station for the time being.
Is very patient there, and that's what we've been talking about in the build-up to this race. A more patient Dale. Dale of last season would have absolutely sent that move and probably into the side pod of GWATS, ruining his front wing completely. But he's patient to line it up for this DRS straight. Will GWATS go defensive? No, GWATS just opens the door, says, you know what? I don't want to fight it. I don't want to lose this potential podium. And that is the wise choice there from GWATS. Knows that Dale is the faster driver. Doesn't want to fight it because of this guy right here, Spro, who is in 4th position, who is also on the attack. GWATS will want to get onto the rear wing of Mr. Dale, allow him to pull him away from Spro and hold on to what could be a podium in this feature race. But Spro will go on the attack to try and see what he can do in this race, of course, as well. Patterson, sadly, getting caught up in that collision earlier on. We didn't get to see what happened, but looks like Patterson's been caught up in quite a few collisions so far in this race today. But look at the front of the grid. Dark Viper, an 11-second lead at the moment as F1 Scott peels into the pit lane to go onto what can only be a set of soft tyres, as his race, sadly, once again, just like we saw it was Japan, just falling away due to the odd collision here and there, getting caught up in a collision and ruining his race completely. But Sprout now just outside the DRS. A good breaking point here can get him inside that. And unfortunately, I don't think he just missed out by 17 thousandths of a second over the DRS line. So we'll not have DRS this lap, but GWATS also will not have DRS to Mr. Dale. So those guys are going to be scrapping it away from the final place on the podium. Pandas on the back of Adam Sanderson, but does have a penalty to their name. The gaps are kind of spreading out. We needed a late safety car in this race to make this a little bit exciting, as Duncan goes on the attack of Patterson and moves himself up into P13 in this race. As, Sprout looking to try and close in on that podium.
Pandas is on the offensive, continuing that battle that we saw before the pit stops between themselves and Adam Sanderson, and it is the Rodin Carlin car that once again comes out on top. Does have a penalty looming over their head though, so it could be an opportunity with only 3 laps to go for Adam Sanderson to get 9th place back. But it's been a decent race for both of them. Pandas only with 2 points finishes so far, with 11 down in 17th in the championship. Adam Sanderson should continue that streak of picking up fairly decent but no sky-high points-paying finishes, down in 10th at the moment, which could be 9th. Of course, battles continue between B-Roy and Zach RC. It seems like once somebody gets in a battle with someone, they won't let it go, and these two have been squabbling for the entire race. It's going to be B-Roy that's now on the offensive, goes very wide through turn number 1, though, like we saw earlier on, does not trouble the racing line, trying to go for a switchback, finds a little bit of an advantage to force that ART alongside the Invicta car. Zach RC wasn't particularly wise to it, but does manage to defend in the second part of the snail section to hold on to 11th place for the time being. Big slide on the exit for B-Roy. Both of these guys have penalties, so could be overhauled by Duncan later on if that Van Amersfoort car can close up. Locking up her brakes and gets very close again to the back of the Invicta, and this battle is going to continue. We've seen B-Roy make some lovely overtakes through the 7, 8 and 9 complex. Is he going to do it again, swinging it around the outside? Is there room going to be left? We look at the daisies on the apex of the corner, and it is the ART that comes out ahead of the Invicta car of Zach RC. Patterson, Jess Gamer swapping place as well. I do know for a fact that Patterson does only have half a front wing at this stage, which will explain their lack of pace.
That does not surprise me in the slightest. Patterson has been in the wars today at the Chinese Grand Prix. These guys, that was a beautiful move there from B-Roy, right around the outside, the left-hander. Adam Sanderson and Pandas. Pandas definitely has the pace over Adam. I think Adam must have made a mistake because it's dropped off the back, but they all have the chance to jump onto the back of Hoodie Pete and potentially Punju in this race, although Punju is going to be a difficult one, but the softs are going to be working a lot better than their mediums, so they need to play the smart game. Obviously, Pandas has the penalty, so Adam Sanderson's going to be thinking of that, going to be going, okay, you can go, I'm going to get you back later on when we cross the line, but you go hunt down Hoodie Pete, battle with him, and then give me that chance for the overtake later on in this race. No battles going on further up the field, although Mr. Dale is closing in on Dark Viper, who's probably just taking a little bit easier in this race now. He's got a 10-second lead, wants to hold on to that, doesn't want to make any silly mistakes to lose that position. We've got F1 Damien right on the back of Hoodie Pete. Are we going to get more aggressive defending from Hoodie Pete? Surely. We're in the last 2 laps of this race. Hoodie Pete is going to be wanting to hold on to P7 in these late stages. He's got the elbows out earlier for less, as a great traction there from Damien to nearly have a look on the inside, but Hoodie Pete, not unusual, closing that door.
Got to be careful though, because at any point these drivers behind could make a shock attack to the back of the Prema and relegate him down potentially 3 or 4 places. Got to be careful. Panda's penalty, of course. There's this F1 team looking for any opportunity to try and get alongside. Goes a little bit wide though. That could potentially allow Pandas to get alongside, but the Rodin Carlin car wasn't close enough to make that move work. And Hoodie Pete is going to have to do a lot of defending in these last couple of laps. But we've seen it, as you said, hasn't been afraid to get the elbows out, and this is obviously the perfect time to do it with just a lap and a half of this feature race to go, and 2 and potentially 3 places, in fact, to defend.
Been really impressed with the pace from Hoodie Pete, especially on these medium tyres. Maybe the softs are just dropping off a little bit more now, and the medium still working slightly better than those soft tyres. Hoodie Pete able to defend as they go onto this back straight, but surely he's going to have to give up the position now to F1 Damien. For him, he's going to want to hope that Pandas is the driver that gets in front of him, because he's got the penalty, so it doesn't matter if Pandas gets ahead of Hoodie Pete as Dark Vipers crosses the line and starts the final lap of this race. But here comes F1 Damien on the inside, going into the hairpin. Hoodie Pete squeezed him right up to the inside. He's going to try the switchback on F1 Damien, and it looks like he's going to put it off. He gets the traction. Damien, though, on the inside, again, squeezing him aggressively. For Pandas, he'll want to go for the switchback, but no, F1 Damien knows about that yellow sausage curb on the inside, one you want to avoid because it's just going to throw you into the air and into the car you're attacking. Hoodie Pete again defending that inside line, but it's going to squeeze Damien right up to the inside, going to hold it around the outside if they can. It's going to be difficult, but will benefit from the inside line through turn 3, and Hoodie Pete, you know what, has held it. Great defense there from Hoodie Pete to hold on to this P7 at the moment. Pandas and Damien trying to get involved. A little snap there from Pandas nearly takes out F1 Damien, and here comes Hoodie Pete once again defending that inside line. Damien has a look, no room there, has to go the long way. Can he do it? Hoodie Pete surely is going to shove him off the track, and he does. He holds on to the position once again, and that allows Pandas to have a look, and all this is allowing Adam Sanderson to get involved as well.
The message, though, from F1 Damien to Pandas is firmly sent across as the Rodin Carlin car is squeezed onto the grass of the exit of turn number 6, and we will continue this battle with the second trident of Adam Sanderson on the back of it. We've got to be careful to try and catch when Dark Viper crosses the line, because they're a long way ahead of this battle, but it will probably coincide with when Hoodie Pete is going to lose a couple of places. Goes defensive, but maybe just as an off-putting strategy. goes a little bit deep into turn 11 and 12. We're going to cut to the final corner very quickly, though, because Dark Viper, as Upans is very close to the back of F1 Damien. Round the final corner we come with Dark Viper. It's been a brilliant drive to win by over 10 seconds, but we've got to return to the battle for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Hoodie Pete goes defensive. F1 Damien has got the road incarnate of Upans right on the tail of the ART. This could be a little bit dicey between all three of them, with Adam Sanson, a very handy spectator in all of this going on as well. Hoodie Pete does go over to the right-hand side to go defensive. Very late on the brakes is the ART of F1 Damien. Upanda's trying to sniff around to get involved. Off the circuit again goes the ART of F1 Damien. Upanda's trying to find a route around the outside, but it's not going to materialise for them. Hoodie Pete slow into the final corner, though. Into the back of the Prema goes the ART, and it's going to be a drag race up to the line that Hoodie Pete is going to win. Damien ahead of Adam Sanson. Upans is going to get bumped down a couple of places, you would imagine, ahead of B-Roy and Zach RC, who are also squabbling right to the death as well. We've got to talk about it. Dark Viper, brilliant drive, but look who's there in second place with a compromised front wing. It is Dale once again collecting a lot of points to go towards that kitty.
Great drive from Dark Viper. Led from the front, took the race win, had a massive lead of 10 seconds, but a sensational comeback from Mr. Dale. Through the field from 14th on the grid. Great drive up the order. And then, of course, getting that front wing damage. We were thinking, maybe this is it. It's over for Mr. Dale at this stage of the race. But no, right back involved. Back up at the front, still making overtakes with drivers who still had their front wing. Just goes to show the pace that Mr. Dale has, and the practice definitely paying off throughout the week at the moment. Adam Sanderson gets driver of the day from the game. But driver of the day, I think there's some great contention, of course, across both races, with the obvious choice being Mr. Dale, of course, the championship leader, winner of the sprint, and second place in the feature.
Can we give it to Dale 3 races in a row? I think that would be very kind. He messed up qualifying. Maybe we shouldn't give it to him 3 races in a row. Down in 13th. I think you've got to give it to Dark Viper. Did really well in the sprint race. Didn't quite get the rewards that were deserved. And then a brilliant drive. So dominant. Managed the pace really well early on, and then just cashed in on those soft tyres later on as the guys behind were battling extremely hard. We can see the podium. It is a Campos 1-2, but it is not our championship leader that heads up that 1-2. It is Dark Viper, who had a very good debut last week and continues that form in fine fashion, ending up 10.5 seconds clear. G Watts does hold on to third place. Brilliant drive there, holding his grid position ahead of Sprout and Bamford. That spin earlier on was pretty costly, but ended up nearly 10 seconds off the back of the dam, so maybe didn't cost too much. Punju will be very, very happy with that haul of points, as will Hoodie Pete, 2 drivers that have struggled so far this season. F1 Damien, Adam Sanson, and Pandas complete our top 10 ahead of B-Roy and Zach RC. Duncan will be disappointed, had a really good season so far, but this is going to be one of the low points, down in 13th. Ahead of Jess Gamer, Patterson with driving around most of the circuit with half a front wing isn't going to conduce very good lap times. Luke Howick, Only Vic, King Henny, and then F1 Scott, who had an absolute disaster, unfortunately, for Scott, down in 19th and last place. That, sir, was very exciting once again.
Yeah, very, very exciting race. I think shout-outs have to go to G Watts, of course, as well, with that great drive and getting himself on the podium. We don't usually see G Watts up there last season, but like I said, this season in the feature race has just been building upon it. Race upon race has just been getting better and better. 10 points in Brazil. Then we had 12 points in Japan. Missed last race, and then, of course, on the podium this time around as well. So great drive from him. I think Hoodie Pete, he's going to have very strong words from a lot of drivers in the cooldown room. I am sure about that. But holding off a lot of drivers who were definitely faster than him on better tyres as well. Great defensive driving. Probably over the line a few times for sure. And there'd definitely be harsh words in that cooldown room. But he held on to that position. He got the points as well. And of course, Bamford, first race in F2. Qualified highly. That one mistake that unfortunately let him down, but still a solid result to come home with some very strong points.
Yeah, Hoodie Pete probably going to have some pretty sore elbows after that, swinging them around for the majority of that feature race. But yeah, it was certainly very exciting to watch. Now that we've finished, should we speak and talk? That's 2 different words. Should we talk to our podium sitters? Which order would you like to go in, Hayden?
Ooh, let's build up to it. Let's save Dale for last. Let's bring in our P3.
We will bring in G Watts, who had a fantastic drive to third place, held on to their grid position, and we can talk about it's been a fairly good start to the season. G Watts, hello. Can you hear us?
Hello, guys. Hello. How's it going?
I am very good, and you must be very good as well, because that was a brilliant drive to third place, holding on to your great start.
Yeah, it's the first podium in Credit Series as well. Very happy. I was just saying to Dale a minute ago, I practiced for the races, but not as much as I should have been. So my engineer, basically, that's also my mod, kind of sat me down, and we just decided that we're actually going to try and grind it out, try and get a playoff spot. So luckily, I practiced, and it actually was worth it, which is nice.
Well, you have had a very strong start to the season, we have to say. Picked up 14 points in Brazil, 12 again in Japan, and you get a really nice haul of points here in China as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping the season would be good. I didn't think it was going to go this well, because I think a lot of people say this, but I think I'm a fairly unlucky driver sometimes, as you probably saw in the sprint. So I didn't think it would go this well, but I mean, yeah, I'm very, very, very happy with how it's going so far. Very happy.
Well, should we mention the P word? Playoffs? What do you think you can manage in the final 3 races?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, ideally, I would like to get a win. But the thing is, again, I was just saying this a minute ago, watching Dale hunt me down is just like, you know you have no chance, you know. And I know he doesn't like people letting him past, but there's really not much you can do, to be honest. So I'm not sure if a win is on the cards. But, I mean, we've got 1 podium, so hopefully we can get a few more. I'd say Singapore's probably my favourite track on the game, so hopefully just as many good results as possible and then see what we can do in the playoffs. And just to go back to what you're saying, Hayden, I almost cried, mate. My reaction was, it was unbelievable, mate. Honestly. Yeah, it was worth it, you know.
Your reaction to the crash that happened behind you, because that was a great opportunity when that pile-up happened right behind you to get on the podium, which of course you did.
Yeah, oh my God. Like, you see everyone kind of... like they're just in DRS, and then you look behind, you look up at the scoreboard, and they're 5 seconds away from you, and it's just like out of nowhere, everything's completely changed. So I'd like to think I had good pace, but that did help me quite a lot. So I was very, very happy about that. Very happy about that.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us today, and we wish you the best of
guys,
luck for the
thank you for wanting to talk to me. I appreciate it, guys.
Well,
Great job on the commentary as usual, guys, I'm sure. Lovely to see you all. And shout out to Kareem and shout out to Schmeals as well. Thank you. Sorry, I just had to say that. Thank you so much, guys. All right.
Cheers,
Great
mate,
job, guys.
See you next week.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What a performance. What a performance. Now, which Campos driver do we want to bring in first? Because you said you want to talk to Dale last, but of course he did come second.
Let's bring in the winner and let's save our championship leader. Let's make him wait for it. Let's make him wait for it for now.
Okay, so we'll bring in the race winner, Dark Viper. This is the first time we get to speak to Dark Viper, so I'm very, very excited. Dark Viper, hello. First of all, that was a brilliant, brilliant performance. Dominant from start to finish, and you should be very, very pleased with how that came about.
That was... I have no words right now, sorry.
Well, I mean, we've got to talk to you about last week as well, because you came into the series and put a marker down straight away. Very impressive performance first time out in Silverstone last week. Carried that momentum brilliantly through this week. And that qualifying lap, 9/10 clear of everybody else. You must have been really pleased with the way that turned out.
I can't believe that. Like, I beat my PB on a wet quali. I was mind blown when I saw it was like a second or something. Oh man.
Hayden?
A great comeback drive, really, because obviously the sprint race didn't go your way, getting caught up in that incident. How did you get into the mindset to put that behind yourself and then go forward in the one-shot quali in the feature to then put yourself in a dominating position?
I just gotta like thank my chat. They were like really supportive on like, let's just get locked back in for the main race. They like really talked me through it. I was devastated, man, because before the safety car I was like comfortably P2, you know? And I just thought like that's so many points gone, and I managed to bring it back.
That win's going to move you quite a bit up in the order, of course. You were sitting P12 coming into this weekend, obviously a race win, and it is so close in that playoff. Are you looking at those playoff positions as a reserve? Sproat's already in that fight, of course, as a reserve in the playoffs. Are you going to try and join him and be a reserve that can get into the playoffs, which would be a huge achievement?
I think that would be like pretty crazy to go playoffs as just a reserve, but I'm not available next week, and obviously you're not guaranteed a seat as a reserve, so I'm just here for a good time, you know?
Here for a good time, but you're certainly here for a fast time, because your driving has been exemplary, it has to be said, and it's been brilliant to watch, because today was absolutely fantastic, and it's been fantastic to talk to you as well, and I'm sure we will speak to you in the future as well, because, oh yeah, you're brilliant today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you when we next see you.
Thank you, man.
So, we've spoken to the race winner. I think now it is time to bring in the championship leader. It wasn't quite the full quota of 25 points, but I'm sure Dale will once again be very, very happy with his tally this afternoon. Dale, hello. Wasn't quite 3 feature race wins in a row, but you must be very happy with second, considering for the majority of that race, you had front wing damage as well.
I did, yeah. I had, I think it was from, I can't remember what lap it was, but it was the feature race. It was 3 drivers, me, Patterson, B-Roy into turn 1. 3 doesn't go into 1. And yeah, we ended up coming off of it with an orange wing. It was a toss-up. I was like, chat, do we change it? Do we not change it? We still had more than enough pace with the broken wing medium tyre to sort of stay with the pack, not gain too much, but tried to stay out a lap longer. I saw Viper went in on the lap that I wanted to box. I wasn't willing to get held, so we went one more, lost a bit more time, but it's one of the worst races I've ever had to do with a broken wing. That was not fun.
And the sprint race as well. I mean, you were P3 after lap 1. That is ridiculous.
That was fun. I'm not even I didn't expect that. Like, it was just absolute chaos. As you know, with China, it's the same as Japan. If you take the inside line into turn 1, you're advantaged. If you're thinking outside line is the way to go, one car makes a mistake, it's a concertina effect into 3, 4, 5, and they all just bowl you off the track. So got really lucky by taking the inside line and just managed to get through as many cars as possible by turn 1 and 2. I think I was P7 coming out of turn 2, which was really good. So yeah, no contact at all in the sprint, got through. Saw the safety car come out. I was like, might as well box for soft, see what we could do there. Saw there was 4 cars stayed out in front of us. But again, coming out of the safety car, their tyre wear was at least 45%, going up against about 10% soft. So it was just sitting ducks, really. But yeah, it was great. Really enjoyed it.
Strong performance. Hello, welcome. You are now leading.
Oh, Hayden, how are you?
A bit in the championship. 114 points, I believe.
Is that how many you've got?
I haven't calculated fastest lap. I don't know if you had the fastest lap in either of those races. I think you had it in the second
feature,
one.
yeah. Feature, yeah. Fastest lap.
So let's add an extra point there. 115 in the season. I think that's like the first time you've certainly got over 100 points. I think
that's the most. Can we just break it? I have never broken double digits in points, and we've hit triple digits.
So there we go. Now we're triple points. I mean, it's very similar to me when I jumped into F2 and all of a sudden you're fighting at the front. But for you in that situation, how much better is it for you to be in F2 this season, to be now fighting at the front and making overtakes rather than being stuck in DRS trains and all of that stuff?
Honestly, a lot of people know me for being an angry racer, but I see it. I'm a passionate racer, man. If something goes wrong and it's my fault, I let it get to me. I let it beat me up. So this season, getting demoted to F2, I've put the F1 cars on the back foot and dedicated literally as much time as I possibly can into these cars to prove that you can be fast in these. There's no excuse not to be fast in these. It's just about how much you want it, how much practice you put in, and how much you go for it. And I want it, and I'm going for it.
We look to see you in F1 next season if I can try and stay up there as well.
Thank you. I look forward to being there as well, guys. Incredible work again. I'm looking forward to watching the broadcast back as always. I hope you have a fantastic evening.
You too. Thank you very much for talking
to us. Good luck in
It
Formula
was,
1.
Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure as always. So yeah, thank you very much. We'll
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you, guys.
Well, I think that pretty much rounds us off for China, and I'm going to put my hand up and say it. I think that has been the race of the season so far. It was absolutely brilliant from start to finish. Great racing. We saw some slightly spicy moments in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Such fun to watch.
I think great battles, not a lot of chaos. Whilst it was still the usual F2 chaos, not quite as much as we have seen this season, which has been a little bit over the line. A few mistakes here or there, which of course tend to creep in, but the battles have been great. They've been clean, and I think we've seen some fantastic racing. We've got a championship leader that is looking to be hunted down by F1 Alex when we come back, and it sets us up for a great last 3 races of the season.
We've got a massive championship lead, and I think we should probably expect to see Dale back in the F1 cars on F1 24. But yeah, it's been brilliant. We are now going to let you go, Hayden, of course, because you want to try and get into that F1 lobby, and we're going to leave you for the highlights from last week's action in Silverstone. But for myself, Tom, and from Hayden, it's been a pleasure as always, and we will see you next time for Singapore. Stay tuned. F1 is coming next.
Just have a brief pause, and we have 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights now. And for the sprint race in the Creator Series, we go racing at Silverstone. Chesnoid gets a bad pull away there as Tom97 immediately tries to look up the inside, but he's going to slot in, pushes in Fratting just a little bit wide, and these two will go side by side through the first few corners. Tom's going to make a move down at the inside into the loop on the right hand and pushes the driver, pushes Chesnoid just a little bit wide. He has to concede the position. Further back, El Ray Guri and Matty D having a fantastic battle here. Safso's up in position on that guy Vince, and Noiguera just getting past Hayden Gullis. But back up the front, Safso gets up that guy Vince, but Hayden Gullis has gone round further back as they exited Aintree up towards the Wellington Straight. That's poor for the Red Bull driver. His hopes of getting any points here in the sprint are diminished, and it is Infratic still trying to make a charge on Chesnoid Gaming. Tom 97 though into the lead of this sprint race, as Tia McMardock has made up 6 positions off this race start. He's up into P12, and it looks like it's all gone wrong for Peya as he's down 2 positions. He's lost out to Chesnoid and El Guri, and the Alfa Romeo will have to try and find his feet once again.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Perge. Oh, and he's spun and he's off the track. There must have been a little bit of contact there. It will be a yellow flag. Obviously, our drivers cannot reset back onto the track. It has to go to the back. So unfortunate. I couldn't quite see exactly who that contact was with, but we will look back at that later, I'm sure. And yeah, just such an unfortunate time for Perge. He's been very unlucky recently. And Curbs, if he has any chance of catching up to Tom. Oh, and it's Ches. No, it's just went from bad to worse. I hate to see it, Ches. No, you come back strong in the race, mate. I know you will. You've got this, but very unfortunate so far in the sprint. I'll try and see what happened there.
And safety car is in the pit lane, so Tom will become the effective safety car, and he launches almost immediately, like I expected he would do, and down towards Vale they go now through Club, and rounding the right-hander. Tom has got to get a crucial exit here on the final corner. This is all to play for, and he can start running away with this race win. Curbs has done his best to stay with him. Eric Guri on those medium tyres has done his best to fire them up as well, but I fear it could be too little too late for the medium runners.
Yeah, and Tom 97 absolutely nailed that restart. As we see, oh, bad contact there. GB might have got damage there. It was hard to tell. Maybe it looked worse in our view. Oh, as we're nearly 2 away going into this, the Williams of Meraki making up places, gets the jump on Sevi, gets that outside line, gets himself into 10th.
And Meraki sets the fastest lap of the race whilst doing so. Noiguera gets himself a 3-second penalty and drops down a few positions whilst doing so. He's pushed wide here as they run through the first few corners. They Aston Martin and Razin Shai not having the best of exits, and he's down to P18 now.
Oh, yeah, absolute heartbreak for Razin. We'll definitely see what happened there, but we do have yellow flags. Oh, everyone's off. Tiamat Marduk is off. Something's happened there with him. We are getting some crazy carnage in the sprint. Hopefully, we'll get everyone ready for the feature race. There won't be so much stuff to look at, but do you know what? This is Creator Series. This is what we're here for. Alex Gillen into the points now because of what just happened.
Further back, Perya's got up past Servi. Servi's off the road, though. He's into a barrier. I thought, go back and have a look. Yellow flags being thrown. No safety car will come out. We're on the final lap of this race. Into Sector 3 we go. And at present, no one is stopping Tom 97. Rounds the final few corners. Down towards Vale he comes now. And Club, rounding the final few corners, is gone his way from the start of this race. He got into an early lead. Further back, Harry Guri's finally challenged up for P2. Second step of the podium, but Curbs tries to go round. It's Tom that gets the win. Harry Guri holds second. Curbs holds third, and GB68 just misses out on a podium here. P4 for himself, Tom P5, that guy Vince P6, Matty D will come home in P7, and then Perya will get the last of the points paying here in P8. And Fratic just missing out by 0.4 of a second.
Coming in to the final couple of corners. Let's do this, Saf. So bring it home into this left hand and get your foot down quickly onto the final right. Coming into this bend. Don't lose the traction. Razin with a 125.3. Safso can't do enough. Gets a 125.36. Goes into second place. Razin just stealing that pole right in front of our eyes. Amazing.
Fantastic stuff there from Razin Shai. We know how quick he can be around these circuits. Chesnoid Gaming coming there in P3. GB68 comes in with and steals P3, as does that guy Vince, up to P4 for himself. So times coming thick and fast now. M Sky Z will be the next to cross the line here. P11 at the moment. What can he do as he rounds the final corner here? It's only going to be good enough for P4. 125.6 for himself. Eric Guri will come next. Can he improve from 12th place? Yes, he can. P4 steals for himself this time around. Hayden Gullis starts his hot lap, and Tia McMardock is about to finish his.
Honestly, I feel like El Rey and M Skies are always right next to each other in these qualifying sessions. So we'll see what can happen in the race. Tiamat Marduk in 4th. That's good for his championship. GB 68 in 3rd, just showing his dominance. And he's missed the race, remember. Coming round, Tom 97 in the McLaren stakes ball. Oh my, he's absolutely demolished that into the 125. I love it. 006 by a few tens. Absolutely nailed it. Matty and the other McLaren coming through. He's not going to be good enough. A 126.0.
Yeah, P10 for Matty D there, so it's 1st and 10th respectively, for the team from Woking. I think Tom will be happy that Matty D knows he can potentially improve as he heads potentially for another flying lap. Round Persia comes. He will steal P10, and just behind him will be Tom, who takes P5 here. So Alpine 3 and 5. A very good day for the French team as things stand. Everybody else is getting themselves involved. Alex Gillen, rather, goes P2. So maybe looking to break the curse here of not winning in Silverstone.
But Razin coming into the final 2 corners, he's got through all the traffic, hopefully nothing distracted him, getting into this left, getting the apex of that, getting right into the right hand side, nailing it. Oh, maybe, oh, he's lost it, he's lost the grip,
no.
He's throwing it, he's into the gravel, TK.
Oh, it was all going so well for Razin Chai in the Aston Martin, and then it all went so wrong as he headed round Club. It was looking like pole position for Razin Chai, but he'll have to settle for P4 at the moment. M-Sky Z comes in for P2. He'll be happy with that, starting second row on the grid as things stand, and everybody else just starting their hot laps. Chesnoid Gaming, I believe, will be the next across the line. Checkered flag is being waved if you're not on a hot lap already, which every single person is, apart from Iraqi, who's starting from P18. He decides to retire, but it will be Chesnoid Gaming who leads us around the next corner. And where can he go? It's P13 for himself. Next across the line will be Infratic, the man who hasn't set a lap time yet, rounding Vale and Club for himself. Just behind himself it will be Hoodie Pete, so we'll switch quickly to him afterwards. Where can he go? Across the line, Infratic goes. It's P9 for himself. Hoodie Pete in P17. Where can he go? And it's no improvement for himself. Matty D also across his line. No improvement for himself. Next will be Curbs down in P20. He's up to P17, Scott.
Yep, Curbs coming through into 17th. Not the best result for Curbs, but I'm sure he can get back into it. That guy Vince coming round. What can he do? Puts himself into 5th place. Love to see that. I feel like Razin's going to be ruining the day that he missed out. But Tom 97, what can he do? Can he extend this further? He can. He's into the 124s. A 124.8. That is mad. Even if Razin had nailed this lap, he was not beating that time.
Yeah, not at all. And trying to get the last two as they come across the line. Sevi will come across the line. He doesn't improve. P18 for himself. Next will be Noiguera, I'm fairly sure. I'm trying to catch where they all are. He goes P4. Tim McMurdo comes across the line. He's up to P10. Hayden Gullis and Tom come across the line. It's P14 for Hayden Gullis. And Tom can only get P9 here. No one seems to be improving. The only person that could have is Razin Chai, but I don't think he had enough to go again. No, he doesn't. It's 34 seconds down. Maybe Persia can improve. No, he's backed out of his hot lap, so it will be Tom 97, who qualified P2 last time around in Silverstone, qualifying on pole position this time. Meraki couldn't do it, and it will be the McLaren man who takes the top step, the front row of the grid. Just behind him, M-Sky Z. Have lights on the board here for the feature race, or the full race here of the F1 Creator Series, round number 3 of Season 7. Lights are on the board, and we go racing at Silverstone. Tom doesn't get a good pull away. M-Sky Z immediately on the charge down the inside. Alex Gillen gets a good pull away as well, and it's side by side for Alex Gillen and M-Sky Z through turn number 1. And Noguera making a fantastic couple of positions up the inside as we look at a tree there. Round the outside, the McLaren rather tries to go. And down the inside on the Haas, he's looking for an early move. Tom just holding on to this lead of the race. There's a lot of positions being challenged further back. That guy Vince gets up. Him and Razin Chai having a good battle at the moment. They're side by side on the run down towards Brooklands and Luffield here. They're just changing positions. Maraki's up 6 already. M-Sky Z's up. Noguera losing out as Razin Chai chose to go round the inside. The outside will have to be locked in for him. And I think he's just going to be able to hold on here, Scott.
Yeah, that guy Vince getting the jump on Razin Chai. Teammate Marder getting in front of Saf, so also Persia and Infratic fighting as well. It looks like every single driver has got through this first half of lap successfully as Alex Gillen takes the lead of the race. Tom has to go wide. Will he still have it? No, he's going to have to come back in as M-Sky Z is also taking a little snip in there, but Alex Gillen in one lap has taken the lead of the race. Usually right up the top is M-Sky Z's taking the lead of the race off Alex Gillen. Okay, this is M-Sky Z's chance. He has been really consistent so far in this season. I love to see it.
Yeah, it's Tom 97 down the inside into Brooklands here. He got the DRS run on Alex Gillen as they run up through the Wellington Straight. Tom on those hard tyres, really starting to make them work. We weren't expecting them to fire up this quickly around.
He's going for this. His tyres are ready. He's actually trying to get away, and he's done it. He's 1 second as we have a yellow flag in the back. We'll come and say, oh no!
Oh, no!
Oh, and he goes straight out. The Curbs is out. Oh my God, TK. That just, and what has happened? The Curbs is out.
I think Curbs forgot the ghosting's completely turned off here. Persia gets a 5-second penalty, I think, for the collision with Curbs. Safety car has indeed come out, as we expected it to do so. Persia there getting spun out as they ran through the final corner, through Club Corner indeed, and then trying to get back onto the track, not appreciating that there was a Williams coming through at a higher speed. Curbs couldn't do anything there as he went into the back of the Alfa Romeo. I wouldn't be surprised if Persia has damage there. Sevi gets himself a drive-through, and Hoodie Pete immediately into the pits to get off some soft tyres, or get onto some soft tyres rather. Razin Chai on the 11-lap old mediums, deciding not to box this time around. He launches early before we head down towards Vale and through Club. The Aston Martin driver tries to catch out Tom behind him, but Tom's all over the back here. The team from Woking, Tom 97 stuck with him through the final few corners, and Tom 97 already looks to move down into turn 1. He's not going to get it there, but Razin Chai immediately under pressure. He looks around the outside now. The McLaren dives down the inside as they run down Village. Through the loop they go. The McLaren gets the lead of this race, and Razin Chai immediately, his decision has come back to bite him. He's dropped down to P2 already. M-Sky Z is not far off here, and through they go. Everybody else starting to navigate rather well. Meraki, after starting on the soft tyre, gaining 10 positions, is up into P10 as well. He's doing well on these hard tyres.
A really dodgy corner. Thankfully he didn't, but if he can get a good exit coming out here, he might just be able to get his foot down, get the power on. It looks like he's had a good exit. Will he be able to do it? He's going to end up on this inside line. He's going for it. He's pushing us 3 wide. It's nearly 4 wide. What are we doing here? An absolute amazing scenes. Skyzy into third, Alex Gillen into second. Noguera getting involved as well. Absolutely amazing. And there's a little bit of contact with the Aston Martin. Razin Chai gets in there. Noguera loses a couple of spots. He's tumbling down the order. TK, what are we seeing?
Yeah, they're going side by side through the final corner here. Razin Chai getting all kind of caught up, as is Noguera. Razin Chai down to P6 at the moment. GB making advantage to that, as is that guy Vince. And those two up into P5 and P6 respectively. But Razin's around here. He's been tapped as they run down towards Village. The Aston Martin, who was in the lead of this race as we restarted, is down towards P18. Almost P last here. Sevi will be last after the served drive-through. But it's all gone wrong here for the Aston Martin driver. Back up to the front of the field though. Tom 97's made a fantastic pull away. He's 1.6 seconds clear of the lead of this race. Alex Gillen's holding second. M-Sky Z's at third at the moment. But Tom gets past Meraki to hold on to P9 as well. Meraki not getting those tyres as fired up as the softs originally were. But we're still on board with M-Sky Z at the moment, challenging for second step on the podium. He's got it when the penalties will be applied later on, but I think he wants it on the track, and he knows that Tim and Marduk further back is starting to make a move as well. M-Sky Z gets up into P2, actually not far off. I think he's got a driver in front of him. That'll be the McLaren of Tom 97. 1.9 seconds is the gap as things stand. Tom further back, the other Tom in P9 trying to challenge Noguera here, who also had a bit of a poor restart under the safety car. And immediately on the chance of El Guri, but up in the lead of this race, Alex Gillen gets a double overtake. He's in the lead of the race now. Tom 97's fallen 2 positions. M-Sky Z did hold up for P2, but Tom down into P3 now. That DRS assistance proving so powerful. The driver without it seems a little bit caught in the mud.
Yeah, it's a 4-horse race that we're seeing. I 100% agree. This is a 4-horse race. Unless they fight each other and slow each other down and somehow give Elray and the others below a chance. But 5 seconds difference. Alex Gillen at worst case odds, and McLaren's going in for it. Tom's going in for it. There definitely was a bit of contact there. Skyzy not giving up in that inside line. Who is going to have the better traction coming off? Will both cars make it through? Oh, and they just touched, but they both make it through. We've seen cars not been able to do that. Tom taking second place, but look at this. TMM Marduk coming down the inside. Will he get 2 for 1? He gets 2 for 1. That is absolutely incredible, but will he make it stick? No, he has to go round the outside, and now the Alfa Romeo coming in on that inside line. What can he do? Nearly runs out of space, actually keeps one of the spots, loses the spot. This is incredible between the two drivers coming in to the second corner, and they're touching us all over. TMM Marduk is gone. Sky Z is gone. It's the fight that we thought it was going to be, but not who it was. We've seen
GB!
Oh!
GB and Matty D into the back there of M-Sky Z, MSkyZ gets a penalty. We saw it had happened before. We saw the no ghosting cars as they headed back out on track. MSkyZ sat right on the exit of Cops there, exactly in the racing line. GB68 didn't see him, sat there, right into the back he goes. And that is a DNF there for GB68. Matty D was unfortunate following through here as well. Not sure what's happening with this pack. Safety car out, time number 2 here. But that is a double DNF from the one McLaren, one Aston Martin. Scott, what have we just seen?
It's quite a stop. He's now off. Tom keeping with them, but already gaps behind coming. That guy Vince in 5th place doing okay, but Tom trying already to get in front. Will he make a turn 3 move into the inside line? Just sends it like he sent it on Razin earlier as well. That is what old tyres will do to you. Tom into 1st place. Alex Gillen making a move to try and get into 2nd place. Does not want to get held up at all. Alex was able to get rid of the 5-second penalty, is still in 3rd place. He goes in the inside. Can he make it stick? He sticks it before we even come in. Oh, and it was even Meraki. The Williams making a move on the inside. What scenes we're seeing from Meraki. He's up 17 spots, TK.
Yeah, starting from P20, of course, up into the podium positions already. Meraki's having an absolute flyer here around Silverstone. Ironic, considering it was the old RAF base, but Meraki really bringing history back to life here this afternoon. Alex Gillen and Tom97 will be his next targets. Ari Guri getting completely swallowed up, those hard tyres. The 11, now 12 lap-old tyres really getting swallowed up. That guy Vince is not far off him already, and look at the gap they pulled to the drivers behind him. You can see there's a good considerable distance, and that guy Vince goes around to the outside of the sister team Red Bull, and it's not even a challenge at this point. That guy Vince up a position. Tom actually tries it as well, and he's going to go around the outside. A little bit of contact between the two drivers. There's a little bit of rubbing, there's a little bit of racing, but Tom gets a position. Further up though, Alex Gillen's made an audacious send for the lead of this race. Can Tom try the switchback through club as they round to start lap 29? They're going to go side by side here on the run down towards Abbey on the Hamilton straight. Alex Gillen just holds on here.
That was incredible. Tom also dropping down like 4 or 5 spots. Something's happened with him. 5 spots. Something's happened with Tom as well. But look at this Meraki trying to get in. Oh, and Tom's getting more damage as well. There's carnage going everywhere. Everybody gets into 9, but Tom gets in front of Meraki again. Meraki, it's all went bad between Tom and Fratic. I'll find out what happened, but Fratic is tumbling down, and Tom, who wasn't like a 6th position or something like 20 seconds ago, is now all the way down to 13th. Oh my god.
That he did. Alex Gillen here could be a bit of a sitting duck on the straightaway as both Meraki and Tim Mardik get past him. He was out of DRS range from Tom97 in front. Alex Gillen actually flashing as well. So that rear light indicating that he's got less than 10% of his battery left to deploy. And the Haas could be out of the podium spot here if he doesn't try and keep up with Tim Mardik and Meraki, as they could pull away through the field here. There is a stats page within the standing spreadsheet. Meraki down the inside here to get the lead of this race as they run down towards Brooklands, round the left-hander, round the right-hander now of Luffield, and Meraki has almost achieved his last to first here. He just has to hold on.
But Alex and looks like Teammate Murdoch's making a move on the outside. Very interesting place to make a move, but gets it done super safe. Tom97 now down to 3rd. Great move.
Yeah, incredible bit of traction there from Teammate Murdoch. He absolutely sent it as they went into Maggotts and Beckett's. You don't typically see moves made there, but the Ferrari driver deciding he had just enough to be able to send it, and actually might have enough straight line speed to send it on Meraki here. He decides otherwise, and that's probably a sensible decision. Just hold off the DRS for another day. Tom97 then down to P3. He's been leading this race for so long. He just has to sit in the pack, wait his chance, and go again, I think.
What is he able to do? He's led most of the race. Oh, and Teammate Murdoch takes the lead of the race, which could potentially be really good for Meraki. Gives him a chance to now just sit back for a second, or maybe he'll just go back for the next lap.
And these three starting to pull away a little bit of a gap from Alex Gillen. Not too considerable. It's only 3/10 to Tom97. It's an audacious send down the inside of Village there. A fantastic late break. A little bit of masterclassery from the McLaren driver up into P2 for himself. He didn't have to send it there, but he decided to anyway. He now has his eyes set on the lead of this race. And down towards Luffield and Brooklands they run now. The left-hander Tom just holding on to this race. everyone behind him will be on absolutely diminishing mediums. And that is where we might see an advantage, as there might be moves down the inside. Meraki tries to send it down the inside on Team Marduk. Alex Gillen's run wide as they run down through Brooklands round Luffield now, and Team Marduk trying to put pressure on Tom 97. He can't do it this time around, and Team Marduk just has to sit back and gain the DRS once again. Alex Gillen lucky to stay within that DRS range of our front runners. But for now, Team Marduk has to sit behind and watch Tom 97 just hold on to the lead of this race. DRS opens for the final time here. Team Marduk's that much closer. He feints to the inside, looks to the outside now, and they're going wheel to wheel. There's a little bit of rubbing between them. Ben goes round the outside. Can he hold on, though, to the lead of this race? It was last-ditch attempt for the Ferrari as he breaks now into Vale, rounding Club Corner. Team Marduk just gets the move at the last time of asking, and Team Marduk will be your race winner here this afternoon. Tom 97 quite couldn't hold on. Meraki will go from last to podium, and Alex Gillen will just have to slot into P4 here. Well, it was Team Marduk that took the win at the end there, just 1.6 tenths ahead of Tom 97, who couldn't quite round out the perfect weekend. Tom 97 finished second set of the podium. Meraki with an incredible drive from P20 up to P3. A one to be proud of, and driver of the day for himself as well. Alex Gillen will have to settle for P4 at the moment, just down one position from where he qualified. And then the rest of the finishes this afternoon: M Sky Z finished P5, Noguera, Safso, That Guy Vince, Tom,